Man, what a yucky day outside, Tolos, but we hope you are safe in the upstate as we are going to react to the madness or the not so madness, as I put on the title of the stream, the not so madness over the weekend with a lot of the favorites moving on. That's what we react to. That is where we start the show. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He is Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson. So good to be with you on this Monday. It's a Monday, which stinks, first of all. It's rainy. It's cloudy, Diesel. We've got storms coming in. As if Monday didn't suck enough already. I mean, just add that to go along with it. But you know what? We're here to make your Monday fantastic.
I don't know why everything in my vehicle is sticky. Now Tolos, don't go there. Don't go there, Cole. Don't go there, Tolos. But everybody's car's got that nice yellow film inside. Even if you think you have a good cabin air filter, you don't. Yellow stuff is everywhere.
That's the cabin air we were talking about last week. Cabin air.
Exactly.
Cabin what?
And that moisture gets in there, just makes everything sticky. I hate that.
But at least the pollen's gone. At least the yellow's gone, right? For now.
And thank you, Jesus.
How many days? And thankfully, all kidding aside, the number one thing we're thankful for is rain for the mountains, Table Rock area.
Yeah, I did see on the news this morning that the fires were now listed as 100% contained. They had some firefighters who were there from Idaho, a couple that were there from Nevada, and I think one from Washington as well. And they said they're basically just out there doing mop-up
duty at this point, kind of trying to clean up as best they can. I would imagine that means washing all of the charred remains and such off of the roads, so that things are going to be nice for people to get back up into the mountains this weekend, which is good because I'm going to the mountains this weekend.
You are going to the mountains. And I don't want this to come out the wrong way, but down the road, for those, Diesel, who understand what I'm saying here, for those who weren't affected, just the regular rural areas, down the road several years from now, it'll be back even better than it was, because fire is a good thing,
it's natural.
For the outside, for the outdoors, for the woods, but obviously if it's contained. So hopefully it'll grow back bigger and better. But, yeah, you're going camping, right?
Yeah, we're going – well, it's glamping, okay? It's glamping. We got one of those tents that has 3 rooms in it. So we're gonna set up an elliptical in one of the rooms.
You're lying.
The other one's going to be a bedroom.
You are so
And then,
full
of course – no, it really does have 3 rooms.
An elliptical? You got a kitchen in there too?
No, that's actually going to be outside, believe it or not. Though we do have water hookup literally right next to our campsite. It is a gravel area that's already squared off. This is bougie camping, okay?
Diesel gets gas logs installed at his house and calls it camping. That's what he says. But the not so madness that happened over the weekend. Let's start where we left off. By the way, good to see so many of you Tolos already chatting it up in the stream. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. Who we got? Brian, JB, Kane, the paramedic elitist, JB. I think I already said that, but I'll repeat it. Good to see 20 of you already in the stream. That's where you can watch the show. But Friday, Diesel, where we left off, there were 4 games on Friday night that I believe started as soon as you and I got off the air. Auburn, Michigan State, Houston, Purdue, Michigan State, Ole Miss, and Tennessee, Kentucky. The 4 games, obviously we'll get into each one of them, but I don't know if there was a better game than Houston, Purdue. You could argue Michigan State, Ole Miss was a good one as well on Friday. But before we get into the Saturday, before we get into the Sunday games, just looking at what happened Friday, was there anything that happened Friday that was off script that surprised you a little bit? Or did what happened Friday night go as kind of the way you thought it would go?
Well, the shocker was that Purdue was able to hold serve against a team as good as Houston is, right? I mean, Houston is a team that, by rights is good enough to be blowing a lot of teams out, winning games comfortably by 10, 15 points, even when you get down into the Sweet 16 and the final and the Elite 8 rounds. Houston is that good of a team. So a lot of credit goes to Purdue and their ability to slow down that fast-paced Houston offense, hold them to just 62 points. And then, it's Purdue God, they played them so tight the entire game until right there at the very end.
They did, and I'll agree with you there. Purdue-Houston was probably the one that surprised me the most. I thought Houston probably, Diesel, would have beaten Purdue the way Houston beat Tennessee, right, on Sunday. We'll get into that one. But as far as Friday goes, I mean, Auburn, we expected Auburn to beat Michigan. We expected Houston to move on. We expected Michigan State. I don't know. Some people might have picked Chris Beard. Some people might have picked Ole Miss. But for the most part, we expected that. And then Tennessee just walloped Kentucky, 78-65. Not even a close game on Friday night. So those four on Friday night probably went as planned. Saturday's where it got interesting because I thought we were in store on Saturday for two of the best college basketball games we've seen all season long. Mm-hmm. Now, the first one lived up to expectations. I mean, you talk about one of the best games I've seen all season.
I was terrified for your and my brackets because both of us took Florida to win the national championship.
Oh, we were in trouble.
Yeah.
We were in big trouble for a long time during that game. But Florida came back, defeated Texas Tech 84-79. Again, an incredible basketball game. Just flat incredible. The next game, Diesel, Bama, Duke, I thought, oh boy, this one's going to be even better. I thought this was going to be even better, right?
I thought they were going to push each other to 110 points each.
Get the popcorn ready, but that didn't happen. What happened? Duke absolutely shellacked Alabama. And you know, it's interesting because we talked about this on Friday. Diesel, when it comes to Bama and what happened against Duke, is it as simple as Bama just shot their wad on Thursday night when they absolutely defeated or blew out BYU 113-88? You know what I mean? I mean, they shot, what? They had 75 points?
They shot 51 three-pointers in that game.
Sure.
They hit half of them. I mean, when you're putting up 75 points just from three-point line, you know, you can't keep up.
So
nobody's going to keep up with that kind of performance.
And that's kind of my point. Maybe we should have expected that to happen more, right? And when I say shot their wad, maybe they gave everything they had to the BYU game.
Oh, I know what that means.
You know, offensive. That's twice in the first segment. We've already made a terrible joke here. I mean, just had nothing left. And look, you can't expect a team, an Alabama, Diesel, to go back-to-back performances like they had on Thursday night. But the way Duke manhandled Bama, and I don't know about you, Tolos, but the way that Duke manhandled Bama on Saturday night made me think a very simple thought. Boy, I picked the wrong national championship winner. Right? I mean, does Duke, in your opinion, and Tolos as well at 844 fan phone, does Duke just not look flat unstoppable right now?
They do. And as a matter of fact, in the next segment, Cole, we're going to power rank the four teams that remain in the NCAA tournaments. I'm not feeling too hot about my national championship choice. A little preview of what's going to happen, a little teaser for the next segment. Tolos, I want you to be thinking about that as well. How would you power rank the four teams left in the NCAA tournament? Be ready to call in 844-FAN phone or text in on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line 844-326-3663.
T Swizzle on the YouTube stream says Duke might beat the Hornets. and you know what? That's funny. But I mean, they would score. They'd be able to hold their own, right?
Oh, I think they'd beat them. I think they beat them by 20.
Is that the show question that T Swizzle? Let's give credit where credit's due there to T Swizzle, our Tolos, one of our most loyal Tolos on the stream, for creating a show question. Could the Duke Blue Devils, I can't even say it without laughing, Diesel, could the Duke Blue Devils beat the Charlotte Hornets? I think that's a little disrespectful to Charlotte. Let's change it.
I think their play on the court is disrespectful to the city of Charlotte.
And to the NBA. But let's change it like this. If Duke played the Charlotte Hornets, could they keep it within 20? Realistically. I don't know.
I think they'd win by 10. Honestly, I think they win by 10 or more.
Diesel's calling for an outright win. Yeah. It's a fascinating conversation. That's fun. Good job, T-Swizzle. I like that a lot. 844-FAN-PHONE. That's the phone line. The phone lines are open right now. The Hub City Spartanburgers text line also open. It's 844-326-3663. You call or text that one number. What would the final score be if the Charlotte Hornets tonight hosted the Duke Blue Devils? Can we ask Rocco Miller that at 4 o'clock? Will he be insulted that we even ask such an absurd question?
Charlotte Hornets right now, by the way, are 18-56.
I was going to guess like 25 wins.
18-56. Looking back at their offensive production the last couple of games, Cole, they put up 102 on the road against the Pistons, 89 on the road against the Nets, 86 on the road against the Magic, 100 points in a win against the Lakers, and then 115 on the road at the Trailblazers.
That's a great question.
God, they've had a ridiculous road trip. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 road games in a row for the Charlotte Hornets.
Did you say they've won 18 games? Is that what you said?
They won 18 games.
In
They've
the NBA
lost
season.
56.
God. That is now all of a sudden T Swizzle has completely.
Just go ahead and move the team again. I don't want this crap in the city of Charlotte.
It's going to get better, right? Maybe not.
No.
T Swizzle has
especially because Adam Silver stacks the deck and makes sure that the good franchises get the number one pick.
No, Luka was going to get. Charlotte was going to get Luka.
Sure, and they were going to get Wemby too. How'd that work out?
Oh boy, that's funny. That's really funny. Could the Duke Blue Devils keep it close if they were put on the same court tonight as the Charlotte Hornets? You know what I'll do? I'm really intrigued by that. During the break and later on in the show, I'm going to text a few buddies of mine who are coaches and just see what they say. If they laugh and say you're an idiot, you know, I want to know. I want to know. He says, T Swizzle says, I think they win. LOL, especially without Melo. No, without Melo, Duke would have a shot. But boy. So anyways, Florida, Texas Tech, Diesel on Saturday night, just, man, one of the best basketball games you could find all season long. An incredible effort by Texas Tech. You're talking about Darian Williams with 23 points, JT Toppin with 20. However, credit Florida, man. Walter Clayton Jr., 30 points for the Gators, 7 of 14 from the field, 3 of 18 from the three-point line, and 13 of 14 from the stripe. I mean, you talk about clutch. This guy and Walter Clayton Jr. was phenomenal. Thomas Huff off the bench, 20 points. Florida, our national championship pick, yours and mine, they're still in it. They look good in the second half. It was 44-42 in the second half alone, but a really good game, and then we go to Sunday. Excuse me. 2 games on Sunday as well. 1 close, 1 not so close. Yesterday, Diesel, I expected Tennessee, and I'm not proud to say this, but in my bracket, I had Tennessee defeating Houston. And boy, that didn't happen.
Houston about not showing up.
Not showing up. 69-50. Houston just, I mean, that game was over. I hate to say this because March Madness has been fun in my opinion. That game stunk. It flat stunk, Diesel.
Yeah, well, I mean, Rick Barnes has a reputation for not being good deep in the NCAA tournament, and it reared its ugly head again. How do you not prepare enough for the Houston game? How do you only put up 15 points
in the first
half?
My God. I thought it was Clemson out there.
Exactly. I was about to say that. I mean, you know, that is a Clemson level offensive performance in the first half. Now, I mean, credit to Houston for shutting them down, but still, you got to be able to hit
points,
shots.
Man.
You played all season long in the toughest conference in college basketball, and you can't put up 15 points against an elite team. You've been playing elite teams all season long.
Diesel, they outscored Tennessee 34-15 in the first half. And you know what? Like college basketball with these halves.
And that's the differential in the game because they scored 35 each in the second half.
And that's the thing. I hate to say this, but the game was never even though you said it, they scored 35 each in the second, it was never a game. And here's my question. Would college basketball see different results if they went to quarters like everybody else has, like the NBA has, like women's college basketball is the only one that doesn't have quarters. Would quarters allow teams, or what? Let me phrase it this way: would quarters, Diesel, hinder performances like a 34-15 first half? Does that make sense?
I mean, it allows an opportunity. Yeah, it allows a stoppage in play. It allows an opportunity for coaches to adjust just a little bit. It's one more TV timeout. It's a long TV timeout. Sure. It's not, it's not the extended timeout like you get at halftime, but it certainly gives coaches the ability to adjust from the first to the second quarter. I'm all for it. I don't understand why we play halves in men's college basketball.
Yeah, I don't like it. I think we need to, in terms of basketball with college and pro, I think we need to be somewhat on the same page. And I'm with you. I don't know that the outcomes would be different, but when you talk about what happened to Clemson and when you talk about what happened to Tennessee, it's similar to the conversation you and I have had, Diesel, on the show about NASCAR, and you've told me you didn't like the stages, right? Because it does what? One team gets
to play.
Right. One team gets a lead, or one driver gets a lead, and it stops it. Kind of the same with a quarter. And I don't know if that would be a great thing for the sport or a bad thing. I don't know that you would see a tremendous difference in some of these first half scores.
Here's an idea for stages in NASCAR, okay? You measure the distance that the leader has on the second place car, and you do a standing start with a distance that corresponds to that time. So look, everybody's stopping. If it's a quarter of a lap head start, for example, I'm just making this up. Quarter of a lap head start. He still maintains that quarter of a lap head start.
That's funny. That is funny. That's good. Just put him out there, like literally that far on the track. We've got
the real challenge is if the leader is on if the leader is in the turn, he's got to climb into his car while at a dead stop on ridiculous 30-degree banking.
So those were the two games yesterday. Obviously, the college basketball tournament, and I'm going to talk about this at 5 o'clock as well, Diesel, but the March Madness tournament, there hasn't been a lot of madness, and I would like to know from our audience and from you as well, if you would prefer a year like this year and what we've seen with the first time since 2008, where we have the Final Four is all one seeds. If you prefer the best teams winning, or do you prefer the madness? Because I've said several times, I think when you're talking about getting the world involved, like the world's involved with the Super Bowl, I think the world, the casuals, like the madness. But boy, the basketball for the most part has been really, really good, and I've liked it. I don't know. I think I prefer this.
I think this tournament is lacking, the storylines of the FAU making a run, of VCU making a run, of the little team making a run. Heck, even if Texas Tech had held on and stayed in this thing and kept their run going, they would be seen as the little guy here in this tournament because Texas Tech not known for being an elite basketball program. I mean, you got to have a little bit of both. The truth is you got to have a little bit of both.
Little mix, little balance.
I mean, we all – like I said, the ratings, the historical ratings bear out that people love the madness in the first two rounds.
Sure.
But after that, they want things to kind of go chalk from there on out. They want the best teams then going head to head. They don't want to see, for example, a 1 seed taking on a 12 seed in FAU in the quarterfinals or in the Final Four because they feel like, all right, this is when they're finally going to get knocked out. The ratings bear out that people want to see chalk, and this is as chalky as it gets. All 4 1 seeds make it to the Final Four.
JB on the YouTube stream where you can watch the show says, this has been an awesome men's tournament to watch. Seems like I've watched better games in the past, and that's where I fall. That's where I stand and agree with what JB says, Diesel, because while to your point, I love the VC, I love the storylines, but I just don't feel like
we need to go
those
back
make deep runs, We need
to go back and pull margin of victory, average margin of victory by round and say, okay, so this tournament, what if the numbers, bear out that the Elite Eight games, the Sweet 16 games were actually a couple of points closer than in years past. So what if the numbers prove to you that we do have tighter games than we've had in years past? I'm not saying that that's the case. I'm just saying what if. I mean, we've also seen the blowouts. We've seen Alabama absolutely trounce BYU, and then we saw Alabama get absolutely trounced on the other side when they had to go face Duke.
By the way, Tolos, before we run, I just got a notification on my phone that there's a severe thunderstorm warning for parts of the upstate. Stay safe out there, and when you get to a safe place, let us know on the text line or the stream, how the weather is your way. It can sometimes help other Tolos who may be living in the same area. By the way, I don't know what this button does. I have a new phone. I got a new phone today, Diesel. What's this button do?
Is that how you talk to the AI?
It took me to the camera.
Oh, how about that? Cole's figuring out new things on his phone.
I'm figuring out new things. I hate the process. I'll tell you this. I hate the process of getting a new phone because it's transfer everything over. It takes forever.
I used to think if you went like iPhone to iPhone, it'd be done like that.
It should
That's not the case.
And here's the worst part. Now I have this new stupid charger, USB-C, and I've got like 4 regular iPhone chargers in my house.
And there's not one in the box, is there? Thanks a lot, Steve Jobs.
Listen to this. Here's what I asked the guy today. Why do you give a charger to a customer who buys a new phone, but you don't include the block? There's no block.
Because they want you to pay for it.
I mean, that's so stupid.
They want you to pay for it.
I mean, include the block. It's the least you can do. Include the freaking block.
Well, it's time for you to move into a new generation, Cole. You're supposed to go buy a brand new MagSafe charger so that you can charge MagSafe. Yeah, you like that ring on the back of your phone. That's a magnet, brother. It can stick your phone somewhere.
What ring?
There's a ring. You see that ring on the back? That circle? That tells you there's a magnet there. And if you have a magnetic surface, you can stick your phone to things.
You're kidding me.
I'm not kidding you.
Where'd you learn? I mean, gosh, I don't like all this change.
2 years with a iPhone. It's crazy, man. I've already lived through all of these things. Welcome to my world. When we come back, Cole, it's time to take a look at these 4 teams yet again, but in a new way. Let's power rank the men's Final Four teams that are still in it. Florida, Duke, Houston, Auburn, Tolos. Get out your phones. Start calling us, 844-326-3663. Text in, 844-FAN-PHONE. That's the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. How would you power rank the 4 teams still in the tournament and why? Give us reasons. Don't just give us a 1 through 4 in the teams. Give us reasons. Show your work. That's coming up next on the Fan Upstate.
I used to hate that.
Cole, my stinking computer has a case of the Mondays, and I don't like this.
It's
man.
okay.
We are.
You don't have to do the show.
No, okay. No, we here at Odyssey are pushing into the early 2020s game, and we are upgrading to Windows 11. Get this. A lot of people were upgrading to Windows 11 like 3 years ago. Well, we're just now finally doing it.
We have company computers?
Believe it, yeah. Didn't they give you one? It's that thing you use as a paperweight in your office over there. You use it as a dartboard sometimes too. No, just trying to get all this stuff put back together. I got my laptop back from IT like 45 minutes before the show started today. So that's when I started all my show prep for a Monday show.
You have a new computer. I have a new phone right before we go on the air.
It's essentially a new computer,
show, but it's okay. That's what Tolos are for. I mean,
our Tolos are out there taking care of their families, of their homesteads.
Outside, man. Look how dark.
Don't forget, bring the dog back inside. Don't let him out there. Bring the kids back inside. Time to unlock the doors.
Bring
let
the
them back
inside too.
It's getting nasty out there. Tolos, do us a favor. Yeah, text in at 844-326-3663. If you're noticing anything big going on out there, like confirmed, you've seen it,
man.
wrecks, down trees, things like that. If you want to pass that information along, you can text us to us.
It helps.
At 844-326-3663. That way we can pass it along to our Tolos as well. And if we get a piece of information and we share it from another Tolo, and you happen to be going through that same area and see that thing is now cleared and out of the way, let us know that too, so that we can pass that information along.
I feel like we're back in December. It's dark and 3:30 again. You know?
This is weird, man.
It is weird. I mean,
this is weird.
It's not dark. Maybe it's because we have those pictures and it makes it looks dark outside. I don't know if it's that dark or not, but.
It's kind of, it feels like we're looking at the Matrix. You guys can't see this, but out of our studio windows, they put these like see-through pictures, these photos of the air staff on the windows, and then the water droplets get into the little holes that you should be able to see out of. It's kind of like looking into a microwave, like when you're waiting for your food to cook. If you stare straight at the microwave, you can't see anything. But so you got to move your head sort of side to side to be able to see through the little holes. That's kind of like what we got going on here on a good day. But today's not a good day.
Can't see.
It's full of those little holes are full of little water droplets. So all we see is a big gray screen. Like we don't have a clue what's going on out there, thanks to these new photos that they have stuck to the windows here. So
had to have your picture on the
wall.
There
could be. This is one thing that always freaked me out, man, about working here.
Yeah.
Is these rooms are pretty soundproof. Like they're pretty dang good soundproof wise. So something big has to be going on out there to even hear the thunder. And we heard the thunder roll, Garth Brooks.
Oh, I like what you did there.
A few minutes ago.
I'm surprised
there was
you
a
heard
big boom and the thunder rolls. I know the All That Remains really crappy cover version of that song. It's just really bad. Like they were a metal band that tried to become Five Finger Death Punch and cover a country song, and it sucked. But like I've always been freaked out. Like there could be a tornado coming at this building, and we wouldn't know about it inside the studio because all you hear is the of the air conditioning.
That's right.
Yeah, it's a wild feeling.
We're sitting ducks.
Yep, we are. Good news is we're on the second floor, and I don't know that there's a whole lot of structural rigidity to this room. So I don't know. We're very protected. Dewey says Chris Justice needs to be fired. This weather is crazy.
He also got one more in a minute ago and said the following. This was 22 minutes ago from Dewey on the text line. The Hub City Spartanburgers text line.
Yeah.
The following should be fired immediately, says Dewey. Lamont Parrish, that's Parish. Paul, he got Maneri wrong, as you can imagine. Brian Snitker, I think he got that one right. And Rob Brown, he got that one right. So 4 on the firing block. Oh, 5 now. Add the weatherman.
Oh, God. I came into the studio today. I just wanted to come and put my bag down so I could get one more thing out of the way. And Rob and Lonzo in here like talking to some wrestler, and they're geeking out like, oh, my God, we talked to the sewage. It's like, I don't care. I upset Rob because he tried to talk to me like I knew who this wrestler was.
Oh.
I don't own enough pair of sweatpants to know all these wrestlers.
Whitey Whiteys.
Yeah. And he was like, this so-and-so wrestler. I was like, who? oh, he's like 50% of the Hardy bunch or whatever. And I was like, what is that? And he just threw a middle finger at me and walked out of the room.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
So, so we got 4 teams left in the tournament. That's as referenced by the fact that we are down to the final 4. The question is, Cole, how would you power rank the 4 remaining teams in the NCAA tournament? In no particular order, you got Houston, Auburn, Florida, and Duke remaining in the NCAA tournament. We've seen, like with Alabama, they had a phenomenal performance against BYU. They couldn't follow it up and do it again against Duke the following night. The question, or 2 nights later, the question is, who would you take in like in a 1 through 4 ranking format?
That's a tough one, but it's not too tough, because in the very last segment, I told you after watching Duke, and you and I mentioned this on Friday, that Duke just steamrolled everybody so far, right? They haven't really been, Diesel, in a competitive game late in the tournament.
Yeah.
So Duke's the no-brainer. If you're asking to rank them, I don't know how anybody out there who follows college basketball can put anybody at one other than Duke. Houston's good. Florida's good. Auburn's good. Taking nothing away from them. Duke just looks like they're on another level right now.
Yeah, Duke is certainly my number 1 as well. They really seem to be hitting a consistent offensive stride over the last 3 games in this tournament. They've scored 85 or better in each game this tournament. Their defense was completely nasty against Alabama, held them to 35% from the field and 25% from 3. That's a team that shot 50% from 3 the previous game.
Yeah.
Part of that is Alabama just wasn't – you know what? I really feel like I have to edit my words now because the texters are in my head. Alabama wasn't stroking the threes the way that they were in the previous game against BYU.
Yeah.
And Duke just murdered the boards. They had 41 rebounds against Alabama. So Duke is my number 1. Tolos, who is your number 1? At 844-326-3663.
It's got to be Duke, man. There's no other. I mean.
Yeah,
there's no other answer.
I'm a little scared now that I have Florida winning the national championship.
I am too. Now, I will say this, to be fair. I think your list and my list is pretty similar, Diesel.
Yep.
But Houston could argue after what they did last night. Mm-hmm. They could argue, hey, we're 1. You could argue that Houston's head and shoulders above everybody else. However, it's just, for me, when you compare the two, when you look at Houston versus Duke, how do you say Houston right now would be ranked number 1 over Duke? Granted, they were really good yesterday. They beat Purdue by 2 in the game before that. I just can't do it. I think it's Duke. I think it's Houston. I think it's Florida, and I think it's Auburn. I think your list and my list is the exact same, right?
Yeah, I've got Duke 1, Houston 2. They are shooting so efficiently right now. Houston is so good. 42% from the field. They don't miss from the free throw line. Granted, they only got there for 4 free throws against Tennessee. Think about that. Think about that discrepancy. Tennessee shot something like 20 free throws in that game, and Tennessee and Houston only shot 4. So that goes to show just how good Tennessee is at playing clean defense. You know, if you wanted to be one of those fans yelling about something, even in a win, you yell about the fact that Houston didn't get to the free throw line because they only shot 4 in that game. But you know, they really moved the ball well. 15 assists in that game against Tennessee. They stole the ball. I think 7 steals in that game. They scored 30 points in the paint against Tennessee. They get it down low, and it's going in the bucket. JB is what it is.
JB on the YouTube stream says, I think Houston will slow them down, talking about Duke, because Houston can play some D. Duke hasn't faced a team with a defense like that yet. Let's go to the phone lines at 844-FAN phone. Rick and Greer wants to chime in. What's up, Rick?
Can you hold just a sec?
No,
yeah,
Rick.
So you're calling us. So let's get this straight.
Hold on. I got to make a Uber Eats delivery.
He's calling us, Diesel, and in the midst of calling us, ask us to hold.
Hang on. Let me put my brother on the phone.
I mean, really, what are we doing here? What kind of tomfoolery are we dealing with, Rick?
I think Rick's in the bathroom, and he just doesn't want us to hear what's going on.
Oh, my God, Rick.
That's crazy.
What's happening right now?
So let's just put Rick on hold. We'll come back to him.
I don't even know if he was being
in the 4 o'clock hour.
I don't know if
Duke 1, Houston 2, Florida 3. Auburn is my 4 because I think Auburn has been the weakest team so far of these 4.
It's hard. I feel like we're splitting hairs there.
And they can't shoot free throws. They can't hit free throws. So if Auburn gets in a tight game and they got to hit free throws to hold a lead or to stay in a game, I don't think they're going to have a chance. I think Auburn is my weakest team in the bunch.
Auburn looked good last night, but we don't know in terms of what they were tested with when talking about going up against Michigan State. Auburn, you got to give credit. They were good last night. They shot 42% from the field, so Auburn shot the ball really well. They didn't shoot great from behind the three-point line, and you mentioned just 55% from the free throw line. They were out-rebounded. They had more assists and less steals than Michigan State, but still won. I don't want to say like comfortably, but still won by 6. Again, they did shoot the ball at a 42.6% clip. Michigan State didn't shoot the ball incredibly well, only 34%. I just feel like Auburn, of the 4, you're right. I don't know, Diesel, that the reason I have them at 4, I don't know that Auburn is as explosive offensively as the other teams in the 4.
But you got to give Auburn credit for keeping Michigan State at arm's length the entirety of that game. Yep. I'm not going to lie, Cole, it got towards the end of the game. I got bored and I turned it off. I flipped over to something else. I'm like, oh, okay. I watched a long stretch, the end of the first half and probably the first 10 minutes of the second half. And like it just stayed at that 8, 9, 10, 11 point distance.
And
it
they
never
kept
really
felt like Michigan State was going to take over either. Like, you're right. They did keep them at arm's length, but for whatever reason, it just never felt like Michigan State could get to tide the turn, if you know what I mean. I don't know. Michigan State, credit in the world to them. They're a very good team. Tom Izzo did a fantastic coaching job in my mind, getting this team this far. But again, you're talking about Johni Broome, one of the best players in the country, and he was, yesterday, 25 points. Now,
so if you had to cast your vote right now for college basketball player of the year.
Oh, it's easy.
Is it Johni Broome or is it Cooper Flagg?
It's Cooper Flagg, hands down.
Gosh.
Yeah, it's 100% Cooper. And again, no disrespect to Johni Broome.
Will the national championship, if one of them wins it, will that change your mind?
Yeah, I think it would. I think it would. I think it should a little bit,
dependent upon
right?
the title.
Yeah, I mean, having a title helps, right?
Rings matter.
And what do you do in that title game, right?
Rings
How
matter.
do you perform? No, I think it definitely helps. But Cooper Flagg, man, he's just – when he's on, teams have no chance. When he's off, teams usually still don't have a chance.
Buckeye Mike says, Houston looks like they're on a different level. Corn Chip says – be nice and let Rob have his thing. He probably feels the same way on wrestling I feel about Banana Ball. Found out I'm in the running for Charlotte tickets the day after seeing them in Atlanta. That says Corn Chip. JD finally signing his texts.
Wow.
I love it. He says
day.
Duke 1, best individual player, coach, and team. Houston 2, Auburn 3, and Florida is 4 because I don't trust them after their scoring droughts.
Yeah, look, Florida has been inconsistent at times, but you never know.
That's why I got him 3.
Yeah.
I got him 3.
We'll see, though. We'll see. All right, Diesel, let's keep it on the hardwood in the very next segment, but let's flip to the Lady Gamecocks, who had a fantastic first quarter and a fantastic fourth quarter yesterday as they were in a dogfight with the Duke Blue Devils. Probably the best game I watched yesterday. I loved it. I love watching South Carolina play, and boy, they're moving on. The 5th straight year Dawn Staley will be in the Final Four. Think about that for a second. We'll talk about it next.
and she said the ball is going to get to me. So I walked out there, and I was like, Pow, can you get the ball? Can you get the ball? And Pow was like, girl, what? And go get the ball. So then I got the ball, and then I went to the line, and I was just taking a deep breath. And then I told myself that my coach wanted me to have the ball at the end of the game because she knows I can make my free throws. And I told myself that I'm really good at basketball, and I made both of them.
Yes, Chloe. I was at the 3-point line screaming. I'm like, you're unshakable. You're unshakable. You got this. Yeah. Before she shot, I'm like, take a deep breath. Yeah. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath.
Diesel, yesterday, South Carolina advances past Duke in order to punch their ticket to yet another Final Four. And that was Chloe Kitts that you just heard after the game. South Carolina wins 54-50. And this was a game that I watched, and I had my eye on the entire time and was pulling for Dawn Staley and the Gamecocks because who doesn't love Dawn Staley, right? But Chloe Kitts yesterday was not fantastic. She was like 2 of 8 entering the fourth quarter from the floor. She wasn't really shooting the ball well. They were doing a lot of double teams, Duke was. Duke was doing a really good job, Diesel, at denying some of those entry passes into the paint. Chloe Kitts could not make her free throws consistently. She'd make one, miss one. But when it all came down to the line at the very end of the game, when South Carolina needed 2 free throws in a row, Chloe Kitts was clutch yesterday. And for the 5th straight year, Diesel, South Carolina is in the Final Four, which is just kind of ridiculous to hear somebody say that out loud. 5 straight years. But it was an incredible game. You talk about team basketball. Nobody yesterday for South Carolina really took over. Malaysia Fulwiley obviously is a girl that's capable of doing that. She only had 5. She was good, but she wasn't fantastic. Truly a team effort as the South Carolina Gamecocks are in the Final Four once again. Are you surprised that they were able to get past a good Maryland team and a good Duke team back-to-back?
Well, the Maryland game, Cole, we were watching it here the tail end of the show on Friday, trying to get you the final. It took them 17 minutes, 17 actual minutes on the real-life clock to play 30 seconds of game time.
That's why I left.
As we finished the show, I think there was like a minute left. They were in a timeout, and there was 35 seconds left to go in the game. So that was at 6:52, 6:51:30. That game did not go final until 7:07, Cole, or 7:10, 7:10. So 17, 18 minutes of real game time to play. That's ridiculous.
It is.
That is something the NCAA has to get figured out going forward. How do they keep games like that? That was an excellent basketball game. From being slowed down to an absolute glacial pace that's terrible television.
Yeah, it wasn't good, but yesterday's game was just the total opposite. I mean, great pace of play. It was a fantastic game. South Carolina jumped out early, and I thought it might be one of those BTA games where South Carolina had a really good first quarter, and Duke was kind of struggling. However, Duke turned it around. Second quarter, third quarter, a good second quarter. They outscored South Carolina 12-10. And then in the third quarter, Duke outscores South Carolina 20-12. But when it all mattered the most, South Carolina then outscored Duke in the fourth quarter 16-8 and was enough for the Gamecocks to hold on by 2. South Carolina shot 43% from the floor yesterday. Not a great day from behind the three-point line. Only 3 of 8, 37%. And then from the free throw line, 13 of 20, 65% there. Here's what's interesting. For the first time, I don't want to say all season long because that would probably be incorrect, Diesel, but South Carolina yesterday got out-rebounded. And that doesn't happen. It's very rare that South Carolina gets out-rebounded. They didn't have as many turnovers as Duke. They had a few more fast break points. Neither team yesterday was really able to get going when it comes to fast break opportunities. But the fact that Duke out-rebounded South Carolina like they did, it just goes to show. People don't understand. You talk about championship DNA, this team has the ability. Are they as good as last year's team? No. But they have the ability, Diesel, when it all comes down to it, when they need the clutch genes the most, they have those clutch genes, and that helped them get the win yesterday.
Well, they won a clutch game against Maryland where they scored 71 points. They follow it up with a clutch win against Duke where they only scored 54 points. Their inconsistency on offense might hurt them in the Final Four, but their ability to win no matter what the circumstances, no matter how they're playing, that is a big, big check mark in the gonna get it done category for Dawn Staley's team. On the other side of the break, we'll be joined by Rocco Miller from Bracketeer.org. You can find him on X at Rocco Miller 8. He'll be joining us to talk about the Final Four and how we got here next. Tolos, stay safe. The weather outside just nasty here in the upstate of South Carolina. Find yourself some shelter if you can. And while you're doing that, listen to our guest. He's going to make you smarter. Rocco Miller of Bracketeer.org. Find him on Twitter or on X at RoccoMiller8. He joins the show here for the second time. Rocco, appreciate you as always. Jon Scheyer, 37. Todd Golden, 39. Kelvin Sampson, 69 years old. And Bruce Pearl is 65. To what do you attribute the rapid ascension of young coaches in college basketball? We're seeing a lot of new blood making deep runs in this tournament. How and why is it that young coaches are getting so good so fast?
Well, I mean, I think everybody's got their unique path, right? I don't think Jon Scheyer and Todd Golden have a ton in common with their path besides their age. And I think with Todd, so, you know, I live out here in the Bay Area and followed his career since he was an assistant coach. And remember when he played for St. Mary's, always had a young, dynamic, analytical mind when it came to how games should be coached in game, as we saw in that Texas Tech rally, you know, fouling JT Toppin intentionally with 2:50 to go down by 6, knowing that they were in the 1-on-1, and of course catching the break of him missing. That happened twice during that sequence, a very overlooked part of the comeback. And in fact, I'll be writing an article about it here soon. But so there's just like with Todd Golden, he is a guy that tries to find winning players, great attitudes, people willing to learn, high IQ basketball, a lot of underdogs. And that's how this Florida team was built, you know, starting with his first year 3 years ago. And then, of course, you know, increasing the talent in year 2 last year, getting a lot of those guys back here in year 3 and finding a key piece like an Elijah Martin in the portal that fit in perfectly, that already had relationships with Will Richard and Walter Clayton Jr., building a really strong front court at Florida with the 4, you know, the big weapons. And we saw the development, for example, of Tommy Howe this year, a kid that was probably overlooked in a projected bench warmer coming into the year, and now actually rising on the NBA draft boards as we approach April, and the Florida Gators still playing ball, versus a Jon Scheyer, who of course had an incredible Duke career. And once he got out of the NBA, he began his coaching quest, and obviously a sharp mind for other reasons, but has all the advantages of being Duke's head coach, and was already leading the recruiting charge in those last few years under Coach K. And so was able to carry that forward, both a great combination of X's and O's and getting high level talent at the Duke level. Obviously, you look at the Cooper Flags and the Con Knebels of the world with Tyrese Proctor and Malik. Those guys are just naturally gifted players that Duke has special access to, being the brand that they are, and then plugging in a Sion James in the portal, getting that 1 or 2 pieces to help put it all together. It's just they came from 2 very different backgrounds to get where they are, but that just goes to show you in college basketball, there's a lot of different paths to success.
Rocco, when we talk about chalk, when we talk about this March Madness tournament, I led the show today. By the way, this is Cole. Always appreciate you hopping on with Diesel and I. But we led the show with the not so March Madness, right? Or March not so madness. There hasn't been a ton of madness. However, I said, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, I said when you talk about America and a lot of the casual basketball fans, they may be the crowd that wants the upsets, that wants the Cinderellas. But for someone like me who has enjoyed the games that we've gotten, I'm okay if there's never another Cinderella in the history of the tournament. Now, I know that's what makes the tournament great at times. Where do you stand on, you know, this year not having as many Cinderellas, and for the first time since 2008, and only the second time ever, we have all 1 seeds in the Final Four?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting time because obviously we're going through a period where NIL is the name of the game, and it has been for a while, but it's gotten to a more mature point, I think, in college basketball, to where there's a clear hierarchy between the SEC, Big Ten, Big 12, and everybody else. You know, Duke's part of that top end hierarchy, as you can imagine, being a top 2 or 3 team, no matter what metric you look at. But outside of them, the ACC was relatively one of the worst ACCs of all time in the Big East. Did squeeze 5 teams into the tournament, but outside of St. John's, had nobody higher than an 8 seed. So we really just had 3 super leagues this year, and a lot of that's a consolidation of teams moving up over the years. Houston not too long ago was in the American Conference. Now they're not only in the Big 12, but they're dominating the Big 12, and they're in the Final Four. So some of these programs that might have been looked at as Cinderella stories in the past have just evolved and grown to a point where they're now part of these big coast-to-coast leagues. We'll see what happens in the future with Gonzaga and San Diego State, for example, going to be part of that new Pac-12, which should be an amazing basketball league out here in the West. But, yeah, to your point, like my preference in general is I love all 31 leagues. I love all levels of the sport. But if there's teams that are just clearly superior to the others, my philosophy is I'm all about the journey. I love the journey of the off season, of building the rosters, understanding how things are going to come together, which programs have continuity like Houston and Auburn, where they were able to keep a lot of those guys from last year, and who wants to be there. I think that can be a separator in itself, and you saw that with those 2 examples this season. And then as the season begins and plays out and we actually get to March and into March Madness, I just love the entire journey. And so whatever the journey gives us, I'm willing to accept. After doing this for long enough, you end up kind of having friends in all leagues and that almost, somebody at every program. So you get to a point like where I'm sitting where I'm just genuinely happy for the guys who stuck with it and succeeded. You mentioned earlier that both Bruce Pearl and Coach Sampson at Houston are in their 60s, late 60s, in Coach Sampson's example. And those 2 guys have really stuck to what their identity is throughout all the decades of coaching, even through some really tough lows when they both got in trouble with the NCAA, to recent times and actually being able to kind of figure things out and making their identity work and not really wavering too much on their coaching philosophies and running the program the way they wanted to run it. And now this is their second Final Four each in the last 5 years, I believe. So obviously there's some fruits to that labor. And there's tons of stories like this across the country, and eventually some of those coaches will break through as well. And that's why I love the journey so much, because you just don't know exactly how it's going to play out. And this year our story is, well, these 4 teams were just quite clearly, obviously Florida had a couple of close scares there, but quite clearly the 4 best teams. And so it's not too often we get that in the Final Four. So let's go ahead and enjoy this while we have it.
Talking to Rocco Miller of Bracketeer.org. In the last hour of the show, Rocco, Cole and I both had the exact same power ranking of the 4 teams remaining in. Both of us had Duke as the best team left in. I would say Houston and Florida are very similar, sort of a 2A, 2B situation, and Auburn sitting there in the proverbial last spot here. Auburn's free throw shooting ability really concerns me, especially if they get into a tight game. But if you look at that Michigan State game, if they get into a situation where they get up, it's really hard for teams to come back on them. Would you agree with that statement? Duke 1, Houston and Florida 2A, 2B, and Auburn at 4?
That's a tough question because, Auburn's so overwhelmingly good, and they run a lot of good sets, as you saw yesterday against Michigan State. They had the best overall regular season with 17 wins against teams that were in the tournament. So it's really hard for me to put them fourth. But then again, you see the gear that Florida can get into. What Houston can do to teams in terms of pounding them. And I do agree that Duke's the clear number 1. I mean, Duke doesn't have a guy shorter than 6'5". And, even against a Houston team that's extremely physical and will be a test, they're going to have a bunch of nice size advantages because Duke is just so freakishly long and really hard to match up against, and plus extremely talented on top of that. I think I'd go Duke 1, and then I would almost put the other 3 pretty much on the same tier, if that's possible. I don't know if that's a cop-out or not, but that's where I'm at.
Hey, Rocco, I wanted to bring up a comment from one of our Tolos, one of our listeners, in hour number 1 of the show. We were talking about Johni Broome and Cooper Flagg. And obviously, all season long, most of the conversation has been about those 2. But when you look at Walter Clayton Jr., he's a senior guard on this Florida basketball team. I guess this is a 2-part question. The first part being his impact on their success. And then the second part of that question, if you look at Walter Clayton Jr., with him being a senior, as someone that could find a spot somewhere on an NBA roster.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think so. And I think he he would be the third person in my list that you just listed. I think the numbers that Broome and Flagg put up are ridiculous. I think Broome has 23 double-doubles this year, and I'm sure some of those ones he didn't get double-doubles, he was probably on the bench because the lead was too big to keep him in. And so he's been as dominant as you could ever ask for. Same with Flagg, and Flagg only being, 17, barely 18 now, years old is crazy. So you have some freakishly impressive regular seasons from those two. But I think when you watch Florida play, and I covered the regional here in the West, so I was with them the last 4 or 5 days, and you saw what happens in that Texas Tech game, and we saw it in other examples like the UConn game. If Florida's in a pinch, Walter Clayton's getting the ball, and he's the one that is calling the shots on the offense. It's almost like a player coach on the floor in some ways because he is so trusted and he is so, ball dominant. And he commands double teams from the defense. He hits off balance shots that are really, really ridiculous. They were, I think, a little bit unfairly giving him some Steph Curry comparisons just because they were in the same arena at the Warriors arena this weekend. But there are some things he can do that not a lot of people on the planet can do in terms of making threes from, way downtown, or just like those off balance examples. You've seen him hit those in the tournament. When they really need a basket, and it's not just in the tournament, it's been all season long in a brutal SEC. Clayton comes through time and time again. He makes great passes if he gets doubled. We saw that when Tommy Howe hit 2 in a row. Those were both feeds from double teams on Clayton. So he deserves all the credit in the world because in some of these games, Florida really, really needed a basket, and it wasn't looking good. We've seen 2 of them in the tournament. It was all because Walter Clayton's leadership.
Rocco Miller, Bracketeer.org, joining us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson, breaking out of the NCAA tournament here for one quick second. Can you put into perspective this acquisition of Trayson Eaglestaff by the South Carolina Gamecocks from the University of North Dakota? He had 18 points a game in the Summit. He's taken that to the SEC. I know South Carolina's got Lamont Paris has got a big job ahead of him, replacing a lot of outgoing transfers. How confident are you that Trayson's going to be able to replicate that in the SEC?
Well, he's 6'6", 195, and he gets in ridiculous, streaky, hot streaks. And I'm not sure if you saw the Summit tournament game against South Dakota State when he had 51, which is just unbelievable to do in a 40-minute game. But there were some shots he made where you would have to be unconsciously hot, what they call in the zone in basketball, to be able to make, because I think there was like 3 different clips that I found where he couldn't even see the basket, and he was turning around from like 18, 20 feet, nothing but net, with a hand in his face. So there's some freakishly offensive things he can do that separate him. And I think any doubt that you might have had that he could score at the SEC level showed up in that Alabama game that they got to host when they gave Alabama a scare up there. And I think he put up 40 in that game. So I think offensively he's going to be fine. My biggest concern there is his defense. North Dakota had probably one of the worst defenses anywhere in the country. In fact, that league has one of the worst defensive leagues. It's a great place to put up numbers. So you always kind of concern yourself with that when you get a player from the Summit League. But Lamont Paris is an amazing defensive coach, always has been. We saw how good their defense was 2 years ago when they made a run at the SEC regular season title. And so getting him acclimated early in the summer, working out with the guys, learning some of those defensive principles will hopefully go a long way for him being able to stay on the court. But if he can't get defensive principles down, it's going to be really hard for him to get enough minutes to put up those gaudy numbers in the SEC. It's already going to be hard enough because this is it's a big jump. I mean, the Summit League's probably the 23rd or 24th best league. So jumping all the way up to the best league, it's not for everybody. But I think this kid is so ridiculously talented. It's definitely worth the opportunity to give him the scholarship. And you just want, if you're South Carolina or anybody in the SEC, you want like 9 to 11 guys that have a real chance to be a difference maker. He certainly checks that box. And if it doesn't work out, you better get a couple of other guys in that same, 2, 3, 4 position that might, run away with the spot. And that's kind of how Alabama's done it. That's how Auburn's done it. That's how Florida's done it. And if South Carolina really wants to compete at that level, they need to bring in enough dudes that can that build that kind of depth.
Rocco, my last question for you. When you look into your crystal ball to Saturday, Florida, Auburn, and then Houston versus Duke should be two really good basketball games. The Gators favored by 2.5, Duke favored by 5.5. What do you think happens on Saturday? And then when you make your national championship look-ahead prediction for Monday, I mean, I know you're not you can't predict the future, but if you had to do your best at predicting who's playing on Monday night, who would you have in the national championship?
Yeah, it's tough. I think we're going to have some great games. I'm not going to write off either of the teams I'll pick to lose, but I will say, we saw Florida-Auburn once. It was an amazing game down at Auburn where Florida took it to them. They were the first team to win down there in the jungle all year long. I think only them and Alabama did it. So I do think Auburn definitely is going to be hungry to get some revenge. Florida has kind of that house money mentality. They've escaped twice. The UConn game was dicey for a while. And, of course, Texas Tech, they were in a much deeper hole, and they got out of that again. So it's going to be a fascinating dynamic, but I'm going to go with Auburn there. And I just think, like I said, the Duke matchup advantages with the size, I think eventually wins out over Houston, although that could just be an unbelievably hard-fought game. Really looking forward to both. So I'll go with Duke there. And then I once again think Duke's probably going to have the talent to just outdo Auburn. Auburn, of course, had a little bit of some missteps in the beginning of March, starting with 3 losses. I think 3 of their first 5 games of the month were losses, but got better here in the tournament, struggled a tiny bit with Creighton, and, of course, we're down 9 against Michigan a few nights ago. But they look stronger again, but I just think this Duke team, it's really hard to pick against them. The talent level, and these guys have starters that will be in the NBA for over 10 years. It's not just a couple guys with a chance for some coffee in the NBA. These are going to be like, and Cooper Flagg's an NBA All-Star. There's other guys that should have long careers. And my rule of thumb kind of every year in the tournament is who has the most pros usually is going to win, and that's clearly Duke.
Rocco, we had a listener bring up this question here, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it. A listener thought that this Duke team would probably beat the Charlotte Hornets. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I have to strongly disagree with that because you look at anybody that's in the NBA right now, how hard it is to get into the NBA, period. It kind of starts to answer the question before you even get too far down in the weeds. And I would say that for any college versus pro sport. Now, they could make it interesting maybe one night, but then it's just like these are men against boys, and it's and extremely talented men, and it's just not happening.
Rocco, great stuff as always, man. We appreciate your time, and we will see who comes out on top on Saturday. Thanks as always.
Yeah, my pleasure, fellas. Enjoy the games.
Absolutely. Rocco Miller, as Diesel said, go give him a follow on Twitter, on X at Rocco Miller 8. That's ROCCO Miller 8.
Yeah. I want him to see. I want him to see like 10, 15 notifications that says people right here in the upstate of South Carolina went and followed him because he heard him. You guys heard him here on the Fan Upstate.
Yep. And Diesel, I want to let the Tolos know the sound that you're about to hear that I'm about to play is generated by me. It's not a real warning or anything like that with the weather that's going on, but it is time. You hear the panic alert going off. It is time to hit the panic button, right? Or is it time to hit the panic button on the Atlanta Braves, who are 0-4 to start the season? That is where we go next. Can they get back on track in LA? know, people sometimes don't like the truth, Diesel, but I said last week that I think the Atlanta Braves are going to start the season 0-7. And, you know, people thought I was just being negative. People said be more positive, be more optimistic. However, the Atlanta Braves, boy, they struggled over the weekend. So this is where we go doom and gloom. This is where we match the weather outside, Diesel, that is doom and gloom. And we talk Atlanta Braves. If you are a Braves fan, I want to hear from you. At 844-FAN-PHONE, the phone lines are open. You can also text the show. I put this on Twitter yesterday when the Braves lost again. And I said, Diesel, you guys said I was being negative last week when I said the Braves would start 0-7. Was that negative or realistic? A few comments that I wanted to read on air before we dive into what happened and what went wrong for the Bravos. Jay Ben responded on Twitter and said, even at 0-7, there would be no reason to panic. They'll be just fine. Jordan says they're going 0-162 clearly, which I agree with, right? Being a little sarcastic. JD said, I got criticized the same way when I questioned the pitching staff. Kane said believe. G-Man Bills fan from South Carolina had a good question in response to my tweet where he asked, I wonder how many teams made the MLB playoffs all time after starting the season 0-7, which is a good question. Philip on Twitter responded and said realistic. I am Precious 02 said this Braves team may be 0-10. So, where do you stand, Atlanta Braves fans? After the weekend, it wasn't a good weekend. It was not a good start for the Atlanta Braves. As we talked about on Thursday, Diesel, the Braves were playing while you and I were on air Thursday. Mm-hmm. They started off looking good, the Braves did. However, Thursday's story was the bullpen. A 7-4 loss on Thursday. Maybe on Friday the Braves could turn things around and get one back, right? They didn't. 4-3 loss on Friday.
They didn't.
Saturday, same story. Pitching wasn't the greatest. The pitching wasn't the problem Saturday is what I meant to say. The bats couldn't get going. 1-0 loss on Saturday. And then last night, I was optimistic. I said, you know what? They've lost 3 in a row. Sunday night baseball. But Diesel, last night, the Braves couldn't even get on the scoreboard. 5-0. And while the pitching isn't great right now, while the bullpen isn't great, the bats aren't great. Last night, you know how many hits this team had last night? Anybody? 1. 1 hit last night. As a team. And again, that's why I ask the Tolos, is it time to hit the panic button? But goodness gracious, I know you say, well, Cole, we're only 4 games in. It's way too early to hit the panic button. You've got to be a realist. And I know that's the right answer. That's the right thing to say. But we live in the now. And right now, Diesel, the Braves aren't good.
Well, Cole, here's something that's going to make you maybe feel a little bit better. I looked up the slowest starts from playoff-bound teams.
Okay.
Maybe this will make you feel a little bit better.
Okay, I need something.
The Atlanta Braves are 0-4 at this point. In 2024, just last year, the Astros, who made the playoffs, started 7-18. In 2015, the Rangers started 9-16. In 2006, the Twins started 9-16. 10-15 for the 06 Padres and for the 05 Yankees. All 7 teams, all 7 division winners have started 11-14. So there's still
hope.
A chance. There's still hope that this team can turn it around late.
And like I said, I know the right answer is, Cole, it's 4 games in. I know that's the right answer. However, we're not in the business of always being right. It's our job to react and be emotional. And you know what? Right now, they're not good. Texter on the text line. This comes from the 554. Says 0 to World Series after 0-7. My friend was telling me stats on that earlier today. Texter from the 860 says, I heard the Braves put in an order for the torpedo bats. They'll be fine. We're going to get to the torpedo bats in just a second, Texter. Cadillac on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line says, nowhere near panic mode yet for the Braves, even though the bullpen looks like trash, and they can't get a hit to save their children's lives. Dewey, I believe this is a PSA, says, PSA announcement of the day, I-85 is a disaster, especially in the usual spots. No accidents as of yet. Well, if Dewey's out there, there might be one soon. But a couple of good texts. Appreciate those. I know it's not time to panic, but when you look at this team, where do you see the team turning around? Where do you see bright spots coming? Because Jurickson Profar was good last year. Obviously, 4 games in, the sample size is very small. I had high hopes for Profar, and I think he still might at some point this season get hot and have an all-star capable season. We'll see. Austin Riley was horrible yesterday. He hadn't gotten going. Matt Olson, horrible. Ozuna, horrible. Ozzy Albies has been just atrocious in the 4 games. Arcia was the only one that had a hit yesterday against the San Diego Padres. And Diesel, it's not like right now, it's not like it's just a pitching problem. It's not like it's just the bullpen or the starters who need to get their you-know-what together. It's a everything problem. Nobody's good right now. And you know what? Like, I know they're going to get Strider back, and I know they're going to get Acuna back, and that's going to help. But, man, like, they're not carrying this team.
It's hard to believe that's going to be enough.
At some point, these players that are playing now have to improve.
Well, I mean, if it makes you feel any better, Cole, was that Nuris, the pitcher who blew it on opening day, the reliever pitcher, he's already been sent back down.
Yep.
So they have brought up another pitcher to replace him.
Chavez.
Good news, there's time. There's lots of time to figure this out, Cole. And I know that you're very emotional right now, and it's okay. It's okay to sit in your emotions and stew in it for a while. But there's time.
Jesse Chavez back on the roster for what? Tolos, tell me. You tell me, Tolos, for the 98th time? I mean, really, I'm not being I'm being serious. I mean, how many times has he been called up, and how many times has he been on this roster, and then how many times has he been traded away? I know that it's early, but here's the problem. The Braves stars of 2021, you say, well, Cole, the Braves started 0-4 in 21. The Braves stars last year, when you look at total hits, last year this team plummeted in total hits. They just absolutely plummeted. And this year they've got some answers, or some questions to answer rather, because Austin Riley's, we all know how good Austin Riley is and what Austin Riley is capable of. But Austin Riley, he's got to step up, man. He's got to step up. You look at Fernando Tatis Jr. on the other side. He hasn't been non-existent. Manny Machado hasn't been non-existent. I mean, their players are showing up. The Dodgers are showing up. The Yankees are showing up. Why aren't the Braves showing up? Kane says on the YouTube stream, are the Braves just the Cowboys of the East?
Ooh.
Absolutely not. The Braves won a championship 3 years ago, Kane. That's a terrible comparison in my mind. Cowboys haven't been relevant in the postseason. Again, 3 years removed from a championship, 4 years, whatever it is now. I wouldn't go that far, but we'll see. I think they've got some work cut out. Now, the torpedo bats. Whew. This is where it gets interesting, Tolos.
Are we about to see a massive change in baseball equipment?
Well, that's where we need to ask, like, what the New York Yankees have done. And by the way, if you have not seen this yet or have not heard about this, the New York Yankees, Diesel, have implemented torpedo bats.
I'm going to go get this other baseball bat, Cole, off the wall so we can show it on the stream in case anyone needs a little refresher.
Are you going to turn it into a torpedo bat? Do you have that ability to turn it into a torpedo? So these New York Yankees, what have they done with these new bats since opening day. On Thursday, 4 runs on Thursday. On Friday, the New York Yankees come out on Friday, and I'm sorry, they didn't play Friday. Saturday, they come out and score 20 runs on the Brewers. So they put up 20 on the Brewers on Saturday. So now you're talking about a team who hit how many home runs on Saturday? 9 home runs. And how long will it be before the torpedo bats that the Yankees have implemented get banned? Because they're crushing, they're smashing right now. Yeah. And I don't know how long other teams will put up with it, or they'll have to adapt, right?
So in case we have brand new Tolos who don't know the game of baseball very well, this, boys and girls, is a standard baseball bat. You know, relative same thickness, the last foot or so of the baseball bat. What the Yankees have done is essentially make this part, the meat of the bat, double the thickness, and it tapers down to almost a point at the end of the baseball bat. And Yankees players are saying, look, we've just moved the wood on the baseball bat away from this last 5-6 inches of the bat down here to the part, the sweet spot. So we've made the sweet spot part of the bat as big as possible. And what I like about this, Cole, is it redistributes the weight of a baseball bat to bring it closer to the hitter's hands. And I think that's going to make bat speed super fast.
You know, my question, I have a couple of questions on it, but my first question is, when you talk about these new bats, is you're telling me in the year by the way, it's 2025. I don't know if you know that or not. It's 2025.
We landed on the moon.
Yeah, and we've just now gotten torpedo bats. Like, we've just now figured out that we need to move some of the wood to the center where there's more mass. It took us this long?
This feels like the torpedo bat was like a training aid. You know, like if you've ever played golf or if you've ever bought the training aids that you can use to improve your swing, they have golf clubs with rubber shafts. And the whole idea is for you to make your swing smoother so that the shaft of the golf club doesn't flex. Just the same thing with baseball. It feels like that was a training aid that they realized, oh man, we can hit a lot of home runs with these bats. And there's nothing in the rule books that says we can't use it in a game.
Yeah, so the standard swell of a wooden bat is completely gone when you talk about these Yankees bats. Now, if you watched the Sunday night broadcast last night between the Braves and the Padres, you know and you heard that there have been some Braves players who have ordered these new bats as well. So it's not like the Yankees are the only team that know about them and how to get them and where to order them and where the Amazon link is. They're not the only ones, but they're the ones who have implemented it, and they're the ones who are absolutely smashing. Dave Portnoy of Barstool took a huge problem with this and got called out by Jazz Chisholm over the weekend, maybe this morning. I just wonder how long, Diesel, until the baseball purists absolutely revolt, because again, we have not seen anything like this.
But what are the baseball purists revolting over?
Oh, they're going to be mad. They'll find
shape,
something.
The bat looks different.
They'll say it's cheating.
If you want to argue that Louisville Slugger is going to go out of business because somebody else has developed the bat, okay, where the heck has Louisville Slugger been? Where have they been developing new bat technology? The baseball bat has largely been unchanged for like 100 years.
So they'll find something to answer your question. You know how the baseball so this torpedo bat was developed by Aaron Lienhart, when he was an analyst in the Yankees organization. Lienhart said the idea was driven by players, Diesel, as he noticed a common concern voiced from batters who wanted to make better contact with pitches. Mm-hmm. He told The Athletic, it's just about making the bat as heavy and as fat as possible in the area where you're trying to do damage on the baseball. It's just through these conversations where you think to yourself, why don't we exchange how much wood we're putting on the tip versus how much we're putting in the sweet spot of the bat? So
none of this is FCC compliant, by the way.
It's not, but it's great radio.
Yeah.
My question is,
about
though,
swells and wood and sweet spots.
Diesel, think about this, though. Think about this.
Yeah.
This goes back to my point a minute ago. It's 2025, and it took us this long to say, hey, maybe if we move more of the wood to where the ball is being hit, maybe this will, make home runs go up. I can't believe I am literally shocked that it took us as a society. And credit to Aaron Lenny Leanhart for developing this. Yeah. I'm just shocked it took us this long.
Look, in golf, there are all kinds of illegal clubs out there. There are drivers that have like air holes in them so that the face of the club doesn't act like a big old parachute moving through the air. And there's additional illegal clubs on top of that. This feels like it should be an illegal bat. But the problem is, I guess nobody has to go and get equipment approved for a Major League Baseball
game. Well, they do.
Game.
So they do. Great. I'm glad you went there. MLB bat regulations, Diesel, are fairly lax. The torpedo bats remain legal so long as they follow MLB Rule 3.02, which states the bat shall be a smooth, round stick not more than 2.61 inches in diameter at the thickest part, and not more than 42 inches in length. The bat shall be one piece of solid wood. The rule further specifies that experimental bats cannot be used until the manufacturer has secured approval from Major League Baseball of the design. So, Major League Baseball had to approve the design, Diesel, before this was implemented.
So the Yankees are just the first ones to actually use it.
Right.
Wow.
They're just the first ones. And you know what?
Now, is that smart? That's just called being smart, right?
Yeah, I think so.
That's understanding the rules.
It's being on top of it. Diesel, again, they scored 20 runs on Saturday. Did you hear? 9, not 1, not 2, 9 home runs.
It's absurd.
Are you kidding me? 20 RBIs, 16 hits.
So, if Cole, I would love for this to be the future of baseball and to say, all right, now every Major League Baseball park, all 30 of them, are going to have to take out 10 rows of seats, and they're going to have to extend the wall by 30 feet. I'm not good at doing the math here, but it's a simple A squared plus B squared equals C squared. You got to figure out what the B is. So are they going to have to expand Major League ballparks so that we don't have double-digit home runs per game?
No, I like it.
Every game.
I like it.
Or are they going to ban this bat? Because that's also not good for the game either, to have both teams just out there teeing off, with 20 home run games from both teams.
Why not? I love it. I love the runs, man. I love it. Chicks dig the long ball.
All of a sudden, we're not going to be excited about a 380-foot home run. Now we're going to be excited about 480-foot home runs because these guys are all using a different bat, and they can launch the friggin' ball to the moon.
Rumor has it those in favor of banning the tush push have already sent in a ban for these bats. That's the rumor.
The Green Bay Packers have already submitted their disapproval for this. When we come back, Cole, let's take a whip around the sports world, see what else is happening out there in our Daily Wires. Looks like things are clearing up out there, Cole.
But we don't know.
Well, we can't tell. We just got a big gray sheet out of the windows here. Tolos, tell us what's going on where you are. But while you're doing that, while you're sending those in at 844-326-3663 on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line, Cole, let's get to our Daily Wires. Here's the buzz happening around the sports world. 5 players and 2 coaches were ejected after a fight broke out in the second quarter of the Minnesota Timberwolves' victory over the Detroit Pistons last night. Detroit lost head coach J.B. Bickerstaff, center Isaiah Stewart, forward Ron Holland II, and guard Marcus Sasser. Minnesota forward Naz Reid and guard Dante DiVincenzo also were tossed from the game, along with their assistant coach Pablo Prigioni. None of those names outside of J.B. Bickerstaff, Cole, have I ever heard. That tells me just how good the Pistons and the Timberwolves are.
But they're good at fighting, though.
They are good at fighting. I love it, man. Bring back the bad boy era. Bring back, it's like back in the day, you could play defense and you could throw a right hook. I'm ready for that to come back into the NBA. The Green Bay Packers' proposal to ban the push tush, properly known as the push sneak, properly known as the tush push,
politically correct,
has support within the competition committee. A source with direct knowledge told ESPN on Sunday. Another source with direct knowledge of competition committee thinking said that the proposal would be hotly contested among the coaches, GMs, and owners as they gather for league meetings this week. I caught a bit of the conversation on the 4-letter last week about this, Cole, and the idea is that they basically want to codify anything where you assist a runner as assisting the runner. So the rule states you can't pull someone forward. Well, now they're looking at adding all of the different ways that it is assisting a runner to the actual verbiage of the rule. And we spent our time arguing about what is assisting the runner or not. The rule stated that pushing from behind was not assisting the runner, or better yet, it wasn't in the rule at all. No. Clemson baseball took 2 out of 3 this weekend from Georgia Tech, and they are now 26-5. I've seen them ranked as high as number 3 in the country. South Carolina baseball has now lost 7 in a row after getting swept by Tennessee over the weekend. They're 17-12, 1-8 in conference. What a terrible way for Paul Mainieri to get his first year in Columbia started.
Yeah, they're just not good. Like, I know people want a big explanation of why they're losing 7 games in a row, but the best explanation is every time they play a weekend series, Diesel, they don't have the better roster. Like, it's simple. They're not good.
Well, that's because the SEC has gotten so dang good, right? I mean, everybody else has evolved past
time to get. Yeah, it's his first year.
All these other teams have evolved past South Carolina, and they haven't been able to keep up. North Greenville swept Erskine over the weekend. Landon Powell's squad is now 29-8 on the season, 14-7 in conference. The North Greenville Trailblazers. It's going to take me forever to get that. They're off to another hot start. For the 5th straight year, Don Staley will be coaching in the Final Four. The Gamecocks will await the winner of Texas versus TCU to see who they're going to play.
If they play Texas, it'll be the 4th time this season they've played Texas. They beat them twice and lost once. So
will the Texas coach complain about home field advantage again?
It's Vic Schaefer. He'll complain about something.
Where's that game going to be played? Do you know?
That game will be played in San Antonio's the men's, right? San Antonio's the men's. I can't remember off the top of my head. I'm
going to see if I can find the rundown. The next game, it will be played in Tampa, Florida.
Tampa.
That will be played in Tampa. So as neutral as it gets, but he'll still complain that it's just not fair, that it's too close to Columbia, South Carolina. For only the second time in NCAA history, the Final Four consists of all 1 seeds. The first time was in 2008. The Atlanta Braves take on the Dodgers tonight at 10:10 p.m. in Los Angeles. They are 0-for on the season. We spent some time talking about that in the last segment. The sky is falling, if you ask Cole Bryson.
It is. They suck.
Brock and Gaffney is leading the wire-to-wire bracket challenge going into this week. Cole is 12th. Rob is 51st. And you didn't have to put this on the rundown, so it's just going to get
Don't
past
say it. Just don't say it.
And Lonzo We don't know if he even did one, so we don't know. No, I'm sitting in 88th place, Cole. Here's how fast this thing can shift and move on you. I was up to 56th place before yesterday's game.
Oh, me too.
And then I dropped all the way back to 88th.
I was in third yesterday before Tennessee lost. And then Tennessee. But shout out to Brock. My buddy Brock and Gaffney leading it. I love it. Let's
Tolos,
go.
where they belong, right there at the top of the list. A picture surfaced on X over the weekend of several South Carolina baseball players out drinking at 1 a.m. on Saturday night, Sunday morning, before Game 3 of their series versus Tennessee. Many fans took issue with this, as you should. This is what happens. These are the discipline issues that happen when your team is not good. And finally, Cole, in NASCAR at Martinsville, Denny Hamlin took home the checkered flag, getting his first win of the 2025 season. NASCAR is in Darlington this coming weekend.
That's right. I'll get back to South Carolina players drinking in the next segment. But the last thing on NASCAR, I told DB earlier in the stream, I've watched a lot of every race this year, Diesel, not all of every race. Yesterday, you know me, I told you before, I love short tracks. I think NASCAR, that's where NASCAR thrives, in my opinion. And yesterday, in my mind, was the best one of the year. Yesterday's race was fantastic. I mean, the last 94 laps, Denny Hamlin put on a show. And, a lot of credit goes to Hamlin because Christopher Bell was right there behind him. But I love short tracks. I absolutely love them. And shout out to Denny Hamlin because he was fantastic down the stretch. But it is time to overreact to one or two or three or more things in the very next segment. It's Overreaction Monday. I have about 4 or 5 of them already on the rundown for my overreaction. I want to hear yours next. segment is for you. Every Monday during the sports year, you see overreactions on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, all over all of these various platforms. And that is what we do in this segment. Diesel and I will give our overreactions, and then we will allow you, Tolos, to overreact. How, you ask? Well, I'm glad you asked. There are several ways to do so. You can text the Hub City Spartanburgers text line at 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-326-3663. The phone lines are also open as well. You call or text the same number just to get in with us. You can also give your overreaction on the stream, where there are 76 of you there right now watching the show. You can watch on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. But JD has been holding all the way through the break, so we're going to go to JD first for the first overreaction of the day. What is your best sports overreaction, JD?
Well, thank you very much, Cole. That is the nicest thing you've ever done for me.
I'm giving you the floor. That's quite the intro, right?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So this one's not my overreaction. However, it is another fan's overreaction. And I just wanted to tell you guys this story. All right, so rewind back to Saturday, Texas Tech, Florida.
Yeah.
Florida was down 9 points with 3 minutes and some change to go. And I put out a YouTube short, and I asked, could Florida be the first one seed to lose? And they, of course, came back and won. And so one of the Texas Tech fans, though, commented and said that I jinxed Texas Tech. He said that if I would have just kept my mouth shut, Texas Tech probably would have won the game. And I was real nice to the guy. I told him, I had zero influence on the outcome of that game. You know how sometimes fans, they think if you turn the TV off, and stop watching their team, maybe they'll play better. We can think that all we want, but we really have no effect on the game whatsoever. So I was nice to the guy, but I could have told him, hey, do you really think that I was the one that caused them to miss their first 2 free throws on the 1-and-1 that they got?
I didn't realize that you were the nexus of all things that affect Texas Tech basketball, JD. That's a high honor, to be honest.
Right. I appreciated it, but I told the guys, listen, I had zero influence on the outcome of that game. And then my other overreaction, and I don't know, you guys tell me if I'm right or wrong on this. I put out on Barrett Sally, who does the radio now for Atlanta Braves, that the pitching rotation scares the life out of me. And Austin Riley liked that comment. Was he just trolling me, or does he not like the pitching rotation either?
Was it the real Austin Riley?
It was the real Austin Riley's Facebook account, yes.
Wow. I don't know if he is trolling the rotation. I bet he believes in the rotation if it was really him. The rotation is not good, though. I will agree. You're not wrong there. It's not a good rotation right now.
Right. And my last overreaction is Cole and Diesel are the best radio show in the upstate. Y'all be blessed, not stressed.
That's not an overreaction, JD. I appreciate that. Not an overreaction at all, though.
It's just telling the truth.
Telling the truth, man.
Telling the truth.
We have, during JD's call, lined up the guest on the phone lines. We've got Dewey. We've got Rick and Greer, the 2 siblings. We've got Dan B. How about Dan B getting in? So
I don't think we should go to Rick, because Rick hung up on us twice.
Let me tell you what he did. It's funny you said that. When I answered the phone, he said, I apologize. He was starting to apologize, and I said, click. I didn't even let him talk. So we'll hold our overreactions. Let's see what the Tolos have to say. Good call there, JD. Dewey, I feel like Dewey overreacts every single day. But, Dewey, what's your Monday overreaction?
Yes. First of all, JD, you still suck. Secondly, Rick, go home. Thirdly, Brian Snicker needs to be fired. The Braves, the only thing the Braves got going good for them is their starting rotation, at least the first 3 starters. They could have won those 3 games, but the bullpen crapped the pants, and no one else didn't want to do anything else. The base running was atrocious. I don't know what they were doing Saturday. We were running the bases. They looked like kindergartners out there. And it's time to move on from Brian Snicker, especially when Brian Snicker made that the press conference talking about the offense is clicking on all cylinders and just give it time. Yeah, we gave it 4 days.
Dewey, I hate to tell you this, but I don't.
22 innings of scoreless ball.
I don't disagree with you. You know, I called for Snitker's job last year, and I'm not the biggest Snitker fan out there, so I'll agree. I mean, look, they're not going to do it, obviously, but it's Overreaction Monday. That's what we do. I don't know that 2 years from now he's the head ball coach. I don't. I just.
So Cole, 0% chance they move on from Snitker during the season.
I would say
0% chance.
I would say Diesel close to it. The only way they would move on is if it just got bad. Like Acuna's back, Strider's back, and they're still
60 games in. You're 10 games under, 20 games under 500.
No, I don't think they do.
20 and 40. But Antonopoulos is going to make Snitker the scapegoat for his crapping the pants during the offseason. Did nothing for the Braves. Let Fried go, let the other one go, let that one go. And why in the world Jesse Chavez is back?
For the what time? The 19th
He's
time?
150 years old, and Craig Kimball. We won't even know what he's going to be able to do because they can't even get to the closer.
Yeah, and he's not even on the roster yet, is he?
I don't know, but he'll lay an egg too because he's about 85 years old and he's going to screw himself out of the Hall of Fame for coming back to the Braves.
Thanks for the call, Dewey.
I like Dewey's call today. Other than the Rick and JD's, you got the in there. But I mean, you know me, Diesel. I'm not a Snitker fan. I like Dewey's call today. I do. I think it's one of Dewey's better calls. I'm down on the Braves, man. I'm down on Snitker. I'm just dead. They don't look lethargic. I just don't know what it is. It's 4 games in. I know I'm not supposed to panic 4 games in, but I don't know. We'll see.
They haven't even come home yet, Cole.
I don't want them to.
They got the hardest. Like, could you have a tougher? Unless you want to play the Yankees and the Dodgers.
No, I'm with you.
Padres in back-to-back series. Padres are great. The scheduling gurus, whoever put this thing together, did the Atlanta Braves no favors whatsoever.
And the Braves are one of my overreactions. I'll get to that. Rick and Greer, maybe. Are we gonna get Rick and Greer? Because last time he asked us to hold after he called us. Is that right?
Look. None of my girls showed up, so I had to dress in heels and do Uber Eats today, okay? So
what size bra do you wear, Rick?
38 double D.
Oh, my.
But let me get back to why I called.
Okay, please do.
I thought the Braves were going to be good this year, so I went out and got 2 season tickets. I don't even want to go now, okay? Don't want to go. So if you know anybody that wants free tickets, let me know.
I do.
I'll give them to them.
I do, Rick. Send them here to the radio station. 25 Garlington Road.
You want them for the upcoming series?
Yeah.
I'll bring them.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to go. They suck.
They do suck. You're right. I'm with you.
Yeah, but a day drinking beer in the sunshine in a ballpark, I'll take that any day. I don't care if the team wins or loses.
You got to drive 3 hours to do it, though. You got to drive 3 hours.
Hold it. Every woman there looks like she come from Walmart, though. So I don't want to go to Braves Park, okay?
Rick's giving us tickets away. Thanks, Rick. And then before we get to our overreactions, Dan B wants to overreact on this Overreaction Monday. What's up, Dan B?
Yeah, so I might make this weekly a weekly thing. The lame sponsors of the Cup Series for this week were the Mark III Employee Benefits Car, DelawareLife.com, Choice Privileges, Gainbridge, which is an annuity thing, Breakers Nicotine, interesting, and Freeway Insurance. And I already looked. Next week is the Darlington race with a bunch of throwbacks. And the cars look great, but you still have some of these lame-ass sponsors going with these awesome-looking cars. Now let's go back to the Breakers Nicotine. The car looked cool. I didn't know what Breakers was. I had to look it up. I thought nicotine was outlawed for sponsorship, why the Winston Cup went away. So that was interesting to see.
I know it's outlawed here.
But it's a modern age, Dan.
And we can't.
It's not a cigarette anymore. Now it's a nicotine replacement, which is healthier.
Just so you know, a lot of national corporations like the one we work for, the Odyssey, we can't If there was a nicotine pouch company that came to us right now, we couldn't advertise for them. We couldn't do it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't know where the rules changed on that part, but I guess they skirted it.
Did you like the progressive paint scheme? I thought that was kind of unique.
No.
What paint scheme did you like?
None of them really this week. I mean, there's the Mobile One still out there, but it's like it changes driver every other week.
But Joey's pretty consistent.
It might have been in the Infinity or in the Infinity series. Wasn't there a Mobile One Toyota out there? I'm like, wait a minute. I thought Mobile One's a Ford thing.
You need, DB, you need to contact whoever is in charge of selling the paint schemes. What a nice job that'd be, by the way. I bet those commission checks are pretty nice. You need to contact whoever the salesmen are that sell the paint schemes for NASCAR and file your complaints.
Yeah, there you go. And we all know it's not paint anymore. It's all just wrap.
Yeah.
So, Dan,
change them every other week. It's not a big deal.
Dan, was there a rule change at some point? Help me out. You're our resident NASCAR historian. Was there a rule within NASCAR that changed that allowed teams to like essentially deregulate and not have to have the same sponsor for the entirety of the season? Because that's one of my big pet peeves with NASCAR. I turn it on. I don't have a clue who's in which car.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, I don't know when that started. I feel like it was over a decade ago where you'd have, let's say, I'll just use Denny Hamlin. He'd be the FedEx car for, 30 of the 38 races, and then he would be the Supercuts car or whatever. I know, what was it? Chase Elliott. He was Hooters and Napa, but every once in a while he'd be in a Hooters car. And now it's like every other week, and I know Denny's got 3 sponsors now. They might all have 3 sponsors at this point, and I get money talks, and that's why these teams are doing it. But I'm embarrassed for them, I guess.
And essentially, that's what it comes down to, right? I mean, essentially, it's a bidding war. Is that what's happening? It's a bidding war between all these sponsors and the salesmen of like Progressive wanting Denny's. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong there. I would imagine it being some kind of bidding war.
Well, I can't speak toward it all. But if I was just to guess, I mean, you look at FedEx going away, and that might have to do with FedEx, as a company is having issues. So they might be trying to dump off some of their, extra expenses throughout the year. But no, it's like you have all these, I'm going to just call them lame companies that are coming to the table because the big name companies aren't. I mean, some are still there, but where are all the Coors Light, Buds, Coke? Where's all the multi-billion dollar companies that used to just be all of, NASCAR? Now it's all these no-name mom and pop, whatever.
And, Dan, they may be trying to diversify in case they sponsor a loser of a driver and they don't want to see their car running in 30th every week. And so, if you got a crap driver, you only have them for like 8 races or so, and then you can move to a different car.
Yeah.
JD says,
follow the money.
Yeah, well, that's what they're doing. That's what it is. JD says, no, it's not a bidding war. They just don't want to pay too much because NASCAR is a dying sport and they don't get the visibility they used to as the sponsors.
Yeah, it could be that too.
But
it's totally that.
It's got to be a bidding war though, doesn't it? How else would it work?
I think it's the teams going. I don't think it's companies bidding toward the teams. It's the teams going to companies going, hey, will you please sponsor us?
I would like to know, maybe we need to ask that question to like our next time we have Bob Pockrass on or something, or NASCAR guy. That's a good question of how that works. I don't know how. I don't know. But that's interesting.
That'd be a great question for the NASCAR guys you have on.
Thanks for the call, DB.
Thanks, Dan.
I would imagine there's some kind of.
I would love it if like there was a primary, secondary sponsor where at the midway point of the season they would flip. Let's just say, for example, here. You got Louisville Slugger, because I'm holding a Louisville Slugger baseball bat, and you've got a bottle of Smart Water over there. So what if Louisville Slugger and Smart Water went 50-50 on a car sponsorship for the year, and for the first half of the season, the main logo on the car was Louisville Slugger, and the secondary logo on the car was Smart Water. And at the halfway point of the season, you just flip it. And that way, Smart Water becomes the primary. So they got the hood, they got the top of the car, they got the side panel. And then Louisville Slugger has the quarter panel, left rear quarter panel, right rear quarter panels, so that you can have some consistency and have a good idea of who is in which car.
Yeah, again, I think I would like to have DB's worries. You know, I mean, I don't know. I'm not making fun of you DB, but I'm just saying it is nitpicking a little bit.
Think about it this way. Bowl games get changed every year who sponsors the bowl games. And we all laugh and giggle about, the Jim Bob's Bait and Tackle Valero Alamo Bowl. So they change the name of it every year because it's expensive to stay with it year after year.
The reality is, in my mind, my opinion, those who are going to watch NASCAR, who follow and are fans of NASCAR, they're going to watch it regardless of the paint schemes. I think that's a very minute detail that, again, not picking on you, DB, but I think that's something that probably might be talked about a little too much.
Well, it's picking on me too, Cole, because I don't know who's in which car. I genuinely don't know.
But you wouldn't watch NASCAR if they didn't do that.
But that's one of the reasons why I don't watch it.
Really?
Because
but there's a ticker on the left that has all the names on it?
Yeah, but that's not, it doesn't.
You would watch NASCAR if they stopped changing paint schemes?
It's one of the reasons. It's one of the myriad of reasons.
Again, nitpicking, but it's okay.
I'm allowed to have my reasons.
JD says there still needs to be Charmin Toilet Bowl, in my opinion. Let's go to Tom in Somerville, who wants to give his overreaction. What's up, Tom?
Hey, guys. I mean, I might have to start watching NASCAR now. There ain't nothing to watch that just don't tick me off. The Gamecocks baseball team is bad. The Braves are bad.
What's your name?
And, we got 153 days till Shane Beamer and the boys are back. So I don't know what I'm going to do. Because when I sit down and I watch baseball, I'm just miserable. The basketball team obviously did what they did. So, I'm just done until August 30th. I'm not going to watch sports after the NCAA tournament is over. I'm not going to pay attention to anything. I might even pick up watching ice skating. I don't know yet, but I am done watching sports that start with a B until maybe 2026. But for the time being, I'm just going to go hibernate and get ready for Gamecock football because the Braves, it's not pretty. It's only going to get worse. And it's time for Snit to step down, and it's time for Alex Anthopoulos to go somewhere else. The way this roster was constructed was a joke, and it's going to be a long season for the Atlanta Braves.
Tom, that's a great call, but we hope you don't hibernate from the show.
Hey, Tom, how's the equestrian team doing?
They just won the SEC championship, didn't they?
That's right. They just won the SEC championship. Hey, it's a sport that doesn't start with a B.
How about bass fishing? How's the bass fishing team doing?
I actually was talking to a buddy of mine. His nephew's on the bass fishing team. They're doing pretty well. So, and you know what? Bass fishing makes me happy, and that's about what I'm about to go do this afternoon. So, I'm just gonna find other hobbies to enjoy because the Braves, the Gamecocks baseball team, are not satisfying my needs as far as that goes.
Well, that's what your wife is for, Tom.
Hey, and she does very well at that.
Oh,
but when it comes to sports, I am so down and battered at what I watched this past weekend. It's a bad day in Tom's household.
I don't think I've ever heard you this sad before,
I hadn't either.
Tom.
I was just thinking the same thing. He sounds down, man.
I mean, the Gamecocks are 1-8 in conference play, and the Atlanta Braves are 0-4. I don't remember the last time the Atlanta Braves started 0-4.
2021.
2016.
21.
When was it?
21.
21? Mm-hmm. Hey, well, that makes me happy because we know how 2021 ended.
Right.
But I don't see that happening with this team.
Tom, does the South Carolina baseball team, do they make the postseason?
No. They might be bad enough to where the SEC calls them and says, y'all are done in May. Y'all don't have to play any more games. We don't want y'all on TV.
Automatic
we don't
forfeits.
want you on the radio. We don't even want you representing our conference right now. It is that bad.
That's good stuff. And we're gonna get to Madcraft. Diesel and I hadn't even gotten to our overreactions. We'll do that in the next segment.
Love it. Thanks for the call, Tom.
Yeah, thanks,
Appreciate
Tom.
you.
The phone lines absolutely on fire today. So we'll make Overreaction Monday 2 segments. But before we run to a break, let's go to Matt Kraft, who wants to overreact a little bit. What's up, Matt?
Well, I'm just gonna need. You want to push me to the second one?
Sure.
He's gonna need some time.
Sure. Yeah, we'll push you.
I'm gonna need some time.
Okay.
On this.
All right.
We'll push
do that. We'll put you on hold. We'll come right back to you, Matt Kraft.
Is he fired up or what?
I think he's ready to roll. All right.
It continues. Overreaction Monday, Diesel. That we didn't know that it was going to go into 2 sets. This was not planned. But you know what? We'll do it, right?
We'll come back to it next. Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson. You Tolos, not disappointing. Get out your phones. Those of you who haven't called in yet, 844-326-3663. Our Tolo Overreaction Monday continues. Your chance to complain about something you saw this weekend in sports. Madcraft, we tried to give him some time in the last segment. He said, oh, no, I'm going to need some more time than that. The floor is yours, Madcraft. What have you got to say?
Well, I want everybody just to take a seat. All right, we're ushers. We're going to lock the doors. I want everybody to understand something real quick. All right. We have played 4 games out of how many? 162 games in a season. Now, look, I did the math on this. I didn't do the whole season. I just did 1 football game. In 1 football game, that's the equivalent of we played the first maybe minute of that football game. So I just want you to think, Cole, if you're watching your Clemson Tigers play and the game starts and the very first minute of that game gets off and you start to question yourself, this game's over, we have no shot. Do you do that?
Yeah. Every single Saturday. That's what fans do, isn't it?
We're 2.5% of the way through this season, Madcraft. 2.5%.
You're not 2.5%.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
What are you, a math argument here? I don't know.
It might be. I might have done that. But anyway,
it is 0.0246. That means 2.5%.
Right?
You move the decimal 2 places to the right to get a percentage. That's 2.46%.
2.4%. Yeah, you're right.
There you go.
You're right.
That's okay. But we're saying the same thing. You and I are in agreement here.
Yes, we are. It's the same process, regardless. But my whole situation here is that we can't possibly sit here and expect to watch your team. Here's my thing. I don't believe in magic. Like JD said, I don't believe that if I cut my TV off at a certain time that
I don't either.
All of a sudden the team's going to lose. No, I don't believe in that. But what I do believe in is that I believe people have certain, if enough of them have a certain want, then it kind of happens that way. Let me give you an example. All right. Why do we think that it was so crazy that the Saints won in the year after, was it Hurricane Katrina?
That's right, yeah.
Right, you know what I'm saying? Do we ever question the fact that if the people have just a little bit of faith in something, regardless of whether or not you think that a change was made? Like let me give you an example. 85% of your tweets have been almost nothing but negative about the Braves, and this was before the season started. Now, I'm not saying that you don't say positive things. I'm saying that you are starting the season before the first pitch ever threw. Y'all were already going, man, this rotation just won. You were already counting them out. So what I'm going to say is that when it comes time later in this season and everybody else in the sports world is talking about, man, the Braves are on a roll. Oh, here they come. I'm going to tell y'all that, no, please, we don't need y'all's energy right now. We've got ourselves covered. Y'all just keep it to yourself.
So you're saying positive.
If you're not going to back the Braves.
That's so
right
dumb.
Now,
that's so dumb.
Any kind of.
Let me know when I can talk, Matt.
You're saying positive thinking manifests positive results, and negative thinking manifests negative results.
No, that's dumb.
Well, yes, to an extent, but I'm not saying that I'm not saying that if enough people think together that the Braves.
That's what you're saying, Matt Craft. That's exactly what you're saying. That's exactly what you're saying. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard on the radio. Matt Craft, can I respond? Can I respond to your 8-hour-long synopsis of the Braves?
Yeah, absolutely.
First of all, are the Braves good right now? Yes or no?
Are they good right now?
Are they good right now? Yes or no?
Okay, let me.
No. It's a yes or no question, Madcraft. You got them tippy toe shoes on, dancing around.
He's saying it's too early to know yet.
Yes, they are.
Is it?
Yes, they are.
They're good right now.
Yes.
Okay. Well, what are they good at?
Well, they're good at playing baseball.
Okay, and you quantify that with what?
Well, okay, why do you quantify that they're not?
Because they're 0-4 and they had one hit yesterday and they've got 18 scoreless innings, Madcraft.
They played 4 games.
Right, but guess what?
Hold on. Against a team that everybody admits is a World Series contender, right? They played 4 games against that team. Everybody also admits that the Braves coming into this season, look at all MLB power rankings. Where are the Braves at? They're pretty high up there. So everybody else seems to think that the Braves are still a pretty good ball club. They haven't played 4 good baseball games, Cole.
Can I ask a question?
Panicking.
Yes, I'm panicking. My question to you is, what is our job on this radio station? On this show?
No.
No.
I'm not hating on you.
No.
I'm not hating on you, Cole.
If let me ask you a question. Do you think if I came on here today and said everything's good, the Braves are fine, they're wonderful, everything? How many calls do you think would get on that, Madcraft?
Okay, first off,
answer the question. Answer the question.
What I told you to do.
Answer the. You are dancing more today than I've ever seen anybody dance.
You're not.
You're not answering questions, Madcraft. What?
That's not what
would
I
that
told
get?
you to
Would
do,
it get
Cole.
calls? Would it get calls?
No, it doesn't matter because
yes, it
why
does.
would
That's
we
our
why
job.
would we be talking about that. What I told you to do was maybe instead of just going 80% negative with nothing positive to say, maybe we could consider the fact that the season just started.
Yeah.
This is like if you were starting off your golf round and you hit your first tee shot into the water, you're not going to go, well, I'm going to pack my bags up and go home.
I've hit my first tee shot in the water lots of times.
But when you hit your first tee shot into the water in a golf tournament, do they just not score that, Madcraft? They just don't score it?
What? No,
yes, they score it. Because it matters, because it counts. These aren't funsies. These games aren't for funsies. These games matter.
I didn't say the losses don't matter. What I'm telling you is that in the game of baseball, you're not going to go undefeated.
We know that, Madcraft. Thank you for that.
Okay, so then when you don't go 1 week, right? In college football, you go 1 week. That week holds a lot more importance than what a one series has in baseball. Now, I understand that the losses and wins still matter. Right? They still matter. I'm not saying they don't. But what I'm telling you is that a week 1 loss in college football is not the same as me taking a series loss to start a season, a 162-game season, where, by the way, in a sport where we idolize the idea of going on hot streaks and having slumps.
But here's the reality. Here's the last thing I want to say one more thing to you, Madcraft, and then I'll be done. I promise. One more thing, okay? Is that okay? Can I say one more thing to you?
Yeah, I was waiting. I'm going to wait.
Diesel and I have talked about this very recently, and bear with me here. I'm going to come full circle. Do you recall 6 to 8 years ago when Clemson basketball went on a 6-year drought and did not make a tournament appearance? Do you recall that?
I do.
Okay. During that 6-year drought, I was on a different radio station doing a weekend show, and I was probably the hardest on Brad Brownell than anybody else. I called for his job, said he needed to be fired, that the teams weren't good, 6 years in a row of not making the tournament. Let's fast forward to 2025. When Brad Brownell went to an Elite 8 last year, and this year, first-round tournament appearance for Brad Brownell and Clemson, does that make what I said then untrue? No. Okay, so in the same instance, the Braves suck now. 3 months from now, if the Braves go and win 10 games in a row, I'm going to sit here and say the Braves are really good right now. That doesn't make what I've said today untrue. It is a long season, to your point. So I hope that the casket that I just buried you in fits your size, because that is a dumb point that you're trying to make. It's a long season. It's our job to react to what's happening now, and right now the Braves stink.
It is your job to react to that. Cole, you're acting like I'm specifically painting this target on you and you alone. I'm talking to the Braves fan base now, and listen to me. I'm just I'll just give it to you, and I'll let you take your win, Cole. That's fine. But I'm just going to tell you that there is a difference. I don't think that you fully comprehended what I'm saying.
Okay, try again quickly.
But no, it's fine. But listen, I do want to make a final point. No, hey, listen, I'll call you back in a minute. But look, I do want to make a final point real quick. Get out of here. The torpedo bats, to answer your question, Diesel, I think a question that really got brought up was what happens if it splits, right? What happens if that bat breaks? Are the safety precautions the same, right? And then I also want you to think about that the fact of the matter is that a lot of people look at this and go, oh, this is going to be, 90% of the baseball league is going to wind up using bats. And I'm telling you that probably 50% of the batters in baseball couldn't use that bat. In fact, I think the fact that Aaron Judge himself said, no, I'm going to stick with what I got is, obviously he's a home run, champion, whatever. But at the same time, I think that's a statement of, no, I don't need this bat. I think somebody that's going to really use that bat would be somebody like Ozzie Albies, somebody who can hit from both sides of the plate. And when you have those pitchers that are running those balls, either sliders or are coming in where they always like to go into your hands, right, that's exactly what it is. The bat is designed basically to make it feel like the ball is always running into your hands. The problem is that if you keep opening up your bottom body too fast, you're always going to pull through it. So it's really not something that every baseball hitter is going to be able to pick up and hit with.
I do wonder, Madcraft, with the shape of that bat, if you've got, for example, a right-handed hitter and the pitcher is throwing something that trails away, because of the shape of that bat, will it force more balls to right field?
Well, yes, in a way. I think that actually in those situations, I think that's where we're going to have – I think somebody actually asked the question in the comments earlier. But I think that's where we're going to have to start questioning how many foul balls were hit off that way, But like I said, at the same time, it's not really something that's going to happen because the feel of the way you have to swing the bat is that if they swung at that, they would be swinging out already so far ahead in order to put a barrel on that ball that I don't think the ball could go right. And that again gets me back to the question of, well, when that happens, that bat's likely to split. What does that do?
Hey,
so
Madcraft, before we let you run, I want to say one thing. I wish you would call the show more often because that was a very, very good call. Even if you're right or wrong, great 10 out of 10 call I give you on that one today.
Thank you so much. And look, I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I think that sometimes just having a little bit of good faith and just understanding that, things start slow. Listen, hey, this is 2025. The people commenting, were like, I would like to know, when Diesel brought up those stats of World Series winners or playoff teams that had started, 0-7 or 0 and something. I'd be honest with you, that wouldn't even affect me in my thinking right now because this is 2025. We have bases that are 3 inches larger. Right, we have pitch clocks, and we have certain pitching rules now. You can shift or you can't shift, And then now all of a sudden we have a torpedo bat. This is 2025. Everything's different, and I'm just saying, just because you started slow and maybe you didn't make the roster moves in the off season that you thought we needed, I don't think it changes the fact that this Atlanta Braves team is a World Series contender. They are capable of winning. It's just a matter of we need to be there. Like I said, you don't have to believe in fairy tales, but it does go a long way to have fans in the stands that are loud and supportive for you, and I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I appreciate it, guys.
Thanks for the call.
Thanks, Madcraft.
I'm going to give him a golf clap there.
By the way, the Braves will not face a team that is under 500 as of right this moment until April 18th. They'll have 19 days before they face the Twins, who are also 0-4.
I want to say, really, really good. I mean that. Really good call, Madcraft. I don't want to speak for Diesel, but I think I can here. We like calls that are challenging. We like calls that are actually that have meat on the bone. So, no, I'm not just pulling your strings there. A really good call. I liked it. It was thought-provoking. I'm with you. I understand the process. I hope you're right. However, again, I will go back to this. Diesel, if you and I sat here today and talked about how good the Braves were, we probably wouldn't have gotten Madcraft's call in the first place.
Well, we would lose credibility with the audience because they can see with their own eyes. The results are not there. Madcraft is saying that the pieces are there. The pieces and the talent and the ability to go on a run and turn the season around are there. You're arguing, Cole, that the results haven't been there.
Fair. Very fair.
Yeah.
Couple of texts. Oh, sorry.
I'm just saying they also did start with a murderer's row.
They did.
of a first month of the season.
No,
so
you're right. They did.
It was inevitable. You were talking about it before opening day that the Braves were unlikely to come out of these first two series on the positive side of 500.
A couple of texts on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line. Texter from the 854 says, Madcraft, you can be happy with a false motivation. We will be realistic. So one texter going at Madcraft there. Texter from the 820 says Cole did kind of bury him. It was all in fun. Madcraft and I, we love going to that's what's fun. That's what makes good radio, going back and forth. Tolo Steve says, I think Madcraft has been hanging out with Dewey. Can't get to his point straight. That's a good text. Jarrett Tripp going at Madcraft. I don't think anyone can comprehend what Madcraft is saying. The Braves are not very good right now, but definitely maybe after the All-Star break. I think that's a very good text, Jarrett Tripp. I agree with you there. Mike Main says Madcraft is right. When Clemson lost to Georgia in football last season, they played 8.33% of their games. Did y'all say Clemson sucked after the first game? No. So why do it to the Braves after 2.4? Well, the difference is, Mike Main, by the way, good text. Appreciate you texting the show. Clemson did not suck last year. The Braves, I just don't think right now, again, key words, Mike Main, right now, I don't think they're a good baseball team right now. Again, could they turn it on in June? Sure, they absolutely could. I just don't think right now they're a good team.
Keith Suarez messages in on the stream. We are live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Says, I think Madcraft and Dewey are the same person. Yowza. Cole, quickly, what are your overreactions for this Monday? Because we still never got to get to ours.
You want to do it next?
Yeah, we'll do it
Let's
next.
do it next. Let's push it. Keep pushing. not just Madcraft, but Tolos in general, hats off to you. Well done on the Overreaction Monday. Diesel and I were talking about during the break that if we got that every Monday during Overreaction Monday, it would be an entire hour of the show just for overreactions. But some Mondays you bring it, some Mondays you don't. We're just calling it like it. Some Mondays you're fantastic. Today, y'all were absolutely fantastic.
Here's the goal, is to make every Overreaction
just
Monday
like that, man.
and every Tolo takeover just like that.
And you know what? I'll say this. For those that think Madcraft and I were arguing back and forth, that's a great call. I mean, it's a really good call. It's challenging us, and I like that. I really do. I like to be challenged, and we can agree all day long. But if Diesel and I sat here and agreed all day, it really wouldn't be entertaining. So, by the way, there are stations out there that do that, but it wouldn't be really entertaining. But Diesel, it is time to 48 minutes later to get the hour overreactions. You go first. I'll let you go with your first overreaction.
Overreaction number 1 on Friday, Cole. It took 17 minutes to play the last 35 seconds of South Carolina, Maryland women's basketball. And I don't know who has to be involved. I don't know if we got to call the commissioner. I don't know if we got to call Batman, put a signal up in the sky, call the president. But that sucks. 17 minutes to play 35 seconds at the end of a game is ludicrous. And there has to be something done. Cole, my wife's texting me like, where are you? Are you coming to the restaurant? What's taking you so long? I'm like, sorry, sweetie. They went to timeout, and then they went to commercial break, and then 0.2 seconds went off the clock, and they fouled somebody else, and we're doing this thing all over again. It sucks.
So here's what's funny about that. Friday, I left right at 7. Maybe a minute or two before 7. And I was in Duncan, under 80, like on 85, under the Duncan Bridge, almost in Welford, when the game went final. And it takes from here to there, that's a solid 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's hard to watch. That's hard to watch. I'm with you there. I don't like that at all. I say if Diesel, my first overreaction is if this continues with March Not So Madness not having the upsets, let's change the name. Because we can't call it March Madness if it's just the best tournament featuring the best teams, which – again, I prefer. I like the chalk. I like the best teams being on the court. I know a lot of people like the Cinderella stories, but let's change the name of March Madness if we get 2 or 3 years down the road and there is no madness.
How about March Mildness?
I like that. It's pretty good. Pretty good.
This March Madness will be for people who think ketchup is hot sauce. That's how mad this tournament has been. Yeah. My overreaction number 2, Cole, is that I would hate at the Masters to be in a playoff against Rory McIlroy if a par 5 is on the playoff docket, because my dude Rory McIlroy was ridiculous this past weekend at the Texas Children's Open, Houston Open. He went birdie, eagle, birdie in round 4. Birdie, eagle, par, round 3. Birdie, par, birdie in round 2. Birdie, birdie, par in round 1. So out of the 12 par 5s that he played of the 4-day tournament, he went under par in 9 out of 12 of them and eagled 2 of them. The same par 5 on Saturday and Sunday, he eagled.
You want to know what's wild about that? As good as he played Sunday in round 4, Scotty shot better than he did.
Yeah.
That's what's crazy. How good Scotty Scheffler played yesterday.
Yeah.
So Scotty Scheffler entering yesterday was tied for 3rd. He had the latest tee time. He dropped the tied for 4th. Then he finished tied for 2nd. Min Woo Lee hit a long, super long putt to win it, to hold off Scotty. And to your point, Rory was fantastic. But Scotty played better than Rory in round. It was really good golf. Really good golf over the weekend.
Mini overreaction. Rory McIlroy needs some hair dye. He's starting to get some grays in there. You know, poking out of the bottom. He hadn't got his Masters haircut yet, and so he's got the little feather coming out of the side of the cap. Your next one, Cole.
I'm going to give one more, and that's it.
Okay.
The Yankees bats, I think we need to just go ahead and ban them, because it's going to happen eventually, right? They're going to tweak a rule. Somebody's going to get mad. They're going to get upset that the Yankees are hitting 20 home runs a game and scoring 84 runs. Am I off? I mean, Am I way off there? Are these bats okay? I mean, I know Madcraft touched on them a minute ago, but I think eventually people are going to get upset, right?
Kane says March Madness is just a marketing gimmick. I doubt it had any meaning other than being a catchphrase when the thing started. It's true. They didn't plan for there to be a lot of upsets, and they didn't plan for this thing to be crazy. My last one here for you, Cole. This one happened to me on Saturday. I'm going to be vulnerable here for a minute. They tell people to let people into your lives, what's going on with you. I've been sitting a little funky the last 2 days on the couch, Cole, because whoever invented the modern bike seat can go to hell.
They suck.
So my wife and I decided to hop on the bikes on Saturday and take a little bike ride. We started at Double Stamp right there on Lawrence Road in Greenville, and we're like, let's cycle up to Swamp Rabbit Grocery. We got there, and starting to feel a little uncomfortable in the Grundle area, and the wife's like, let's get all the way to TR. I was like, oh no, I don't think this is going to be very good. But she's like, but I want to go. So I went all the way to TR on a cushy mountain bike seat, by the way. This isn't like some new modern bike seat. This is a cushy seat. And I couldn't sit down for 2 days, Cole, because bike seats suck. And they're getting worse. I went to a bike shop like a year ago. My mountain bike's like 10 years old. I went to a bike shop a year ago to get it to get some maintenance done to it. And modern bike seats are basically like one chopstick going this way and one chopstick going that way. They're terrible.
You know, the last time I rode a bike, I think it was one of those where you can like rent them downtown,
An e-bike?
Maybe so.
That's cheating.
It was so bad, though. The seats hurt so bad. No. It was a real bike.
Oh, really?
Real bike.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe it was downtown Spartanburg where I rented one. It was real cheap. You have them and you can rent them. No, the seats suck.
We used to have like Take and Go. I don't know what you called them. Bikes at App State. They would be spray painted yellow, and so it was a free to use bike. You ride the bike. You got to get to class. You ride the bike to class. You set it down. Next person picks it up and rides it wherever they want to go. Problem is, students kept throwing them in the pond.
Texter says the primary sponsors, going back to the NASCAR conversation, the primary sponsors choose which races they want to be a main sponsor for. It's more of this is the team's set price to be the main sponsor for the Daytona 500, and the company ECO wants it pay that price. There's a tier system on where the sponsors are placed on the car for the exposure. So good text there. Very good text. Diesel, in the next segment, are we going Clemson and South Carolina baseball, or are we going Marketplace Monday?
Let's go Marketplace Monday.
Marketplace Monday. I like it. I've got to get a few in my head on my rundown, but we'll do a little Marketplace. I like that.
That's next. Every Monday, Cole, you and I do a little deep dive on what kind of cool sports memorabilia is out there for sale in the upstate of South Carolina. It amazes me just how much of this stuff is constantly being put up for sale and just the weird things that you find on Facebook Marketplace. And I love digging on Facebook Marketplace for items. So every Monday we do this. And I think I got your ass.
Well, you might, but
on
let's.
This one.
I'm gonna side rail us for a quick second because of some breaking news.
Ooh,
Dewey did point this out on the text line, and I just got the ESPN notification, and it was tweeted out by Mark Bowman, who, by the way, is with MLB.com. Speaking of the Braves, you can't make this up. Breaking news. Jurickson Profar has received an 80-game suspension without pay after testing positive for HCG, a performance-enhancing drug, and the suspension will run through the end of June. Add that on to the crap.
Oh, my
Are you
God.
kidding me?
When have they pinpointed when he started taking this?
I hadn't seen.
Because he just came to the Braves from the Padres. Right? So, God.
Background, can you call back? Are we still going to be okay? Everything's going to be fine.
If you could prove that he started taking this and then lied about it and somehow covered it up in his medicals, if you're the Atlanta Braves, man, you better get some sort of like first-round compensatory pick for this, right?
So who leads off tonight? I mean, who leads off? I mean, we're talking about a game starting in 4 hours, and our leadoff guy just got an 80-game suspension?
Leave his ass in Southern California. You're off the team. Fire him now.
So now let's set the table. Jurickson Profar, Diesel for 80 games is out. He will never get going and be able to build momentum that late in the season. Strider's still out. Acuna's still out. Sean Murphy's still out. So now that's 4 of the 9 in the lineup. Jurickson Profar, breaking news, if you just tuned in, 80-game suspension. Wow, is all I can say. That is
Tough
unbelievable.
Break. Tough break for the Atlanta Braves.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's rough. That's rough. So here's the statement 4 minutes ago from the Braves. We were surprised and extremely disappointed to learn that Jurickson Profar tested positive for a performance-enhancing substance in violation of Major League Baseball's Joint Prevention and Treatment Program. We fully support the program and are hopeful that Jurickson will learn from this experience. Well, that's rough. So there's your breaking news, and it's only when it rains for the Atlanta Braves, it pours.
So
back to Marketplace Monday.
Maybe this will distract you, Atlanta Braves, from just you might struggle to win 40 games this year.
Suicide watch.
It's gonna be tough, Cole. Let's get going on Marketplace Monday.
Let's do it.
We need some sort of like music for this.
I know.
Okay, let's get started. I will get going for you, Cole. This is a simple one. A vintage 1980s Atlanta Braves starter jacket. You know, Starter, the apparel brand. They're everywhere. It's what the managers wear.
Yeah.
It's a good-looking jacket. It seems to be in pretty good condition. What would you say a vintage 80s Braves starter jacket would be worth?
I like that, by the way. Does it say size? Does it say what size? Does it list that?
Are you going to look it up, maybe buy it?
Maybe. Maybe. I'm thinking about it. I mean, if it's an extra large, I'm going to go, no, the size doesn't matter on the price, but I was just curious. From the 80s Diesel, no autographs, nothing like that.
No, just a jacket.
Just the jacket.
Just the jacket.
I'm going to say $60.
Wow, you're close.
Okay.
If you offered him 60, he'd take it because it's listed for 50.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's about a jacket. It's about a jacket cost, right?
Yeah. I like old school stuff like that. You know, you take it out, you wear it with pride.
No, I like that. Send it to me. I might buy that if it's extra large. All right, I've got one for you. Tell me, because I'm not looking at the rundown. Tell me if you have a framed signed jersey on
I do
your.
Not.
Good. This one's, by the way, right here in Simpsonville. Right here in the upstate.
Just down the road. Where you at, JD? It's in your own backyard.
Okay. This is a Devin Singletary, number 50, Chicago Bears jersey, framed, 2 pictures at the bottom with the stamp of authentication, I guess is what you call it, and the autograph on the jersey for Devin Singletary. Diesel. This one's a tough one. This one's a very, very tough one. I'm going to go ahead and let you know. Signed jersey, framed. It's real. It looks like it's. Let's see if it's
game worn jersey.
Game worn.
When they frame it, they usually add that to the price, right?
Yeah.
So it looks nice. Presentation matters. It's better to sell it in a like a shadow box than it is selling it just on a hanger. I'm going to say that this jersey, Devin Singletary, is listed for $325.
You're low.
What?
You're low.
500?
$499.
Wow. Yeah, you're not getting that, bro.
No.
You're not getting that. It's a nice try. Like, you put it out there, you see if anybody bites at this ridiculous price, and then a week later you drop it.
I have one question before I forget on this Marketplace Monday. I want to throw an oddball in here. A question for you. I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today, and I learned something new. I traded in my phone for an upgrade today.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of Marketplace Monday, how much do you think I could get for this iPhone 13 Pro Max? You see, great condition, no scratches, no nothing.
Try to sell your old phone.
How much do you think I could get for it?
Maybe $100.
That's it?
Yeah, probably.
I was thinking like
now.
3 or 4.
We're up to iPhone 16s now.
So I can't. So it's not worth. It's a paperweight. Is basically.
I mean, you could probably. Why didn't you turn it in when you bought your new phone?
They said they wasn't going to give me anything for it.
Well, I guess it is a paperweight.
Well, let me tell you this.
You could use it for like videoing things and put them on the cloud.
Yeah. A friend of mine told me earlier today, and I did not know this. I want to see if you knew about this. This is why I brought this up. A friend of mine told me earlier today that there are machines out there at local retail stores where you can put your phone in the machine, it intakes the phone and spits you out cash.
Really?
Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Evidently, they're in every Walmart.
Oh, that seems like a great way to just offload a stolen cell phone.
Oh, great way. But yeah, evidently I can do it. I might do it after the show. I don't know how much I'll get for it, but it looks it up by like.
If you don't like the offer, can you get your phone back? Or is it just like take what we're giving you, buddy?
I don't know, but I was unaware of that. So there's machines out there that will give you cash for your old phone.
So here's one, Cole, that you're not gonna stand a chance getting anywhere near on this.
Give me credit.
This is a fun one though.
Okay.
This is a lot. 41 unopened Atlanta Braves bobbleheads collected from Braves games over the years. It would appear that this person is a huge fan and goes to every single game. Make sure they get in early to get the bobblehead. And I'm not going to read the full list here, okay? I'm just going to read you some of the highlights here. Travis d'Arnaud, he's got 3 Travis d'Arnauds. He's got 1 big blooper bobblehead. He's got a mini Dansby Swanson, Charlie Morton, 2 Smoltz, a Glavine, a Maddox, a Max Fried, a Hank Aaron, Brian McCann, Brian Snitker, your favorite, a Bobby Cox.
Oh, I like that.
Let's see here. Dale Murphy, Freddie Freeman, that's a Funko Pop, and an Ozzy Albies Funko Pop, 2 of those, and the Home Depot Fill the Bucket.
So you're telling me this is a box of bobbleheads?
A box of unopened. It says every single one of these is unopened. That matters to people who collect these sorts of things.
People collect bobbleheads?
They do. He wants to sell them all as a lot. Does not want to break them apart.
So it's going to be outrageously high because you said you'll never get it. So Madcraft on the YouTube stream guesses 12K. I don't know if you can like acknowledge. You don't want to give it away. How many total does it say?
41. 41 bobbleheads. And it doesn't say that any of these, it doesn't specifically state that any of these are particularly rare.
What are you going to do with a box of 41 bobbleheads? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to my calculator, and I'm going to tell you, or I'm going to type in what I really think one of them's worth.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one bobblehead, I know they're probably worth, a different amount. I'm going to go, okay, I've got my number. All right, I'm ready.
Okay.
You're going to laugh because this is way off. I'm going to go $2,500.
You're not that far off.
Really?
You're not that far off.
How far off?
You're a little high, but not by much. It is currently
Don't say
listed.
2050.
It's currently listed for $1,800.
Okay.
It was listed for $3,000. Realized they're not going to get $3,000 for it, so they price dropped it to $1,800.
So you know what I did on my calculator? I said, okay, one. I said one's worth like $50,
which it averages $41 a piece.
Okay, so I wasn't far off.
It averages $40 a piece.
I'd pay like $40 for one. And that'd be cool to
You
put
don't
over.
want to sell one.
I did just 41.
You don't want to sell one. This one's cool though. He's got the Jackie Robinsons are like sliding feet first into a base.
Yeah, it better be cool.
The Dansby Swanson,
$2,000.
he is looks like he's catching a fly ball. Two Travis Darnos where he's swinging a bat. He's got a 3. This one's a 3-pack. This one's cool. Ronald Acuna Jr., Ozzie Albies, and Freddie Freeman 3-pack 2019 Silver Sluggers. That one's cool.
So he's got one player that still plays for the Braves, right?
There's a Chipper Jones in there.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
$41 a piece for these. That's Matt Kraft said, or Matt Therapy said, "Oh, I had my decimal point off again." You did have it off a little bit more. 12K would. I knew it wasn't that much. I thought you were going to say like 4K, so I thought I was going to be too low. But that's interesting. That Bob, I just didn't. I knew people collected baseball cards. I didn't know baseball bobbleheads were that big of a.
I love bobbleheads.
Oh, I do too.
I think they're fun. We got a couple of them over there.
And some of them don't bobble anymore.
We got a Sosa, Palmeiro, Randy Johnson.
Randy Johnson looks like, that's the funniest looking bobble. I did add Boss.
He looks like Jeff Foxworthy.
He does. I added Boss. Oh,
we
Dick Vitale. Don't forget.
And Dickie V. Yeah, the Dickie V one, there's no way to change the batteries on it, but used to be you'd press a button and it would like rotate.
See, that's
between
why
5
you
or
don't
6
need
settings.
a battery-operated bobblehead.
But the battery doesn't affect the bobblehead.
Oh, it doesn't?
It's only for the speaker, but you get one use out of it. There's no seams. There's no like little plate that you remove to put new batteries in it.
I do like the bob. I added the Walford Boss, the Terrier.
Nice.
That's a nice one.
I like
Shout out to G for giving me. We need about 10 more, I think, on our windowsill. I like the bobblehead.
Anybody got $1,800? We could fill it up right now.
Oh my God! Are you kidding me? That's a little. All right, I've got one for you. This one is. Where's this one at? Travelers Rat TR baby. By the way,
I was there on Saturday.
Not looking at the rundown. Do you have anything basketball related on yours?
I do not.
Okay, good. In the big city of Travelers Rest right now on this Marketplace Monday, there is a Michael Jordan autographed 8x10 photo. And it's also got, in the photo, it's 3 of them. It's Michael, Larry Bird, and Magic. They are in their Team USA jerseys. It has the COA, by the way.
8x12, so roughly the same size of a sheet of paper.
Yep. It's got the COA. It's autographed by Michael, okay?
Wow.
So let's see what the description says. Michael Jordan autographed 8x10 photo with certificate of authenticity on USA Dream Team basketball with Larry Bird and Magic.
Well, I could take a dump at a box and mark it guaranteed, but that doesn't mean anything. It really depends on where the certificate of authenticity comes from. Let's pretend for a moment that it's reputable and it's real. I'm going to say that this photo only signed by Michael.
Only signed by Michael.
Oh, God, it'd be so much cooler if it was signed by Bird and Magic.
I know.
Only signed by Michael. I'm going to say that this thing is worth. I know, like Michael signed a lot of stuff. I'm going to say $400.
It started at $240.
Oh God!
And it has since come down to $215.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I talked myself out of it. I was thinking a little cheaper, right around there, $250. Yeah. And then I thought, man, like how much does Jordan really sign these days?
I don't know how much he signs nowadays. That's a good question. Probably not a lot, right? He's too busy tuna fishing,
I guess.
That was my last one, though.
I got one more for you.
Okay.
This might be the coolest item I've ever seen on Marketplace Mondays, okay? This is another hard one. This is a 1984 Ford 3350 Super Duty cargo van, painted to look like a Clemson football helmet. So it's orange with a white stripe down the middle, purple on either side of the white stripe. There are tiger paws painted on the sides of the van. There are purple painted wheels. But here's the coolest part, Cole. There is a 3 beer tap system in the side of the van.
So it's a little tailgating.
It's a tailgating rig, 67,000 miles on this 84 3350 Super Duty custom Clemson orange painted van. This is the coolest thing I've ever seen on here.
The van itself is for sale.
Yeah.
68,000 miles, you said, which isn't bad. What year is it?
84.
I'm in I'm in the market now since my rake Wednesday for a vehicle.
Come on, think about it. This thing could pay for itself if you put a couple of tasty beers in the back. You just pull up to the right spot, sell a couple of beers, that you made your car payment for the month.
This one's tough.
It is hard.
Okay, it's a 90 what?
84.
80. Okay,
so it's as old as I am.
It's 84, and it
has Super Duty cargo van, 67,000 miles on it. Custom
I'm gonna
paint
say
job, 3 beer taps in the back.
I'm gonna just I'm gonna be
Tolos,
way
you
off.
want to take a guess?
Yeah,
hit us up. 844-326-3663.
Mad Therapy says, Cole, you need to buy this van. It's not happening. I'm not
Some
driving
Gamecock fan is gonna buy this thing just to crash it.
I'm gonna guess on this 80-something model van. I'm gonna guess 5,400. Way off.
Way off. Scotty from BMW says 13K.
Are you kidding me?
He's considerably closer than you are.
So I'm low?
You're way low.
That's stupid.
You're way low.
That's stupid. Nobody's gonna pay that.
$28,500. That's cheaper than any new car you can get these days.
What did you say that again?
$28,500. Custom 1984.
Are you out of your
Ford
mind?
3350 Super Duty cargo van, 67,000 miles with 3 beer taps in the back.
That's a hunk of junk is what it is.
This thing looks amazing.
I don't care. It's an 84. Oh, my God. You've got to be kidding me.
This thing looks amazing.
Do you know right now, if you took, let's just call it 20 grand, you know you
it's got new tires on it, if that helps.
Yeah, okay. Do you know you could go with 20 grand and buy a really nice vehicle?
I didn't tell you. You open up the side door, Cole.
Oh, God.
The floorboard.
Better be gold.
No, the floorboard has AstroTurf with like a little mini football field on the floor. There's orange bench seating all the way around, like a very nice, comfy place to hang out and tailgate in the back. There's painted on the wall. There's a football goalpost. This thing is nice, man.
It's nice.
Aftermarket head unit for the stereo.
Better spit out dollar bill. I mean, that's insane, man. Real
but
quick.
It's cool, though.
It's cool.
And it's got a custom stereo system in the back.
Good luck getting that for it. Several texts during this segment from Tolos letting us know about Jerks and Profar. We did start the segment off, so if you just tuned in, yes, we did start the segment off with that breaking news. Matter of fact, before we run to a break, Diesel, here is the statement for immediate release that just came out minutes ago from Jerks and Profar. He says, by the way, for those that just tuned in, 80-game suspension for Jurgensen for...
You blew it!
Yeah, I don't know exactly what he took, but it was obviously illegal. Today is the most difficult day of my baseball career, says Jurgensen Profar. I am devastated to announce that I have been suspended for 80 games by the MLB and the commissioner's office for testing positive for a banned substance this offseason. This is especially painful for me because anyone who knows me and has seen me play knows I am deeply passionate about the game. There is nothing I love more than competing with my teammates and being a fan favorite. I want to apologize to the entire Braves organization, my teammates, and the fans. It is because of my deep love and respect for the game that I would never knowingly do anything to cheat it. I have been tested my entire career, including 8 times last season alone, and have never tested positive. I would never willingly take any banned substance, but I take full responsibility and accept the MLB's decision. I am devastated that I won't be on the field with my teammates for the next 80 games. I look forward to competing again at the highest level this season upon my return. So maybe, Diesel, maybe he didn't mean to. I mean, people do.
You can find Osterine in anything.
Right. I mean, I'm not saying he did it on intentionally or not. It's just either way, it's tough. It's really, really tough. So, Braves fans, when you just thought it might get better, your leadoff guy, out for 80 games. That one's tough. When we come back, Diesel, earlier in the show, we had a fantastic conversation with Rocco Miller recapping what happened this weekend. Also, looking ahead to the Final Four. And let's not run the break quite yet because I want to give one more piece of breaking news from Grayson Mann of TigerNet.com, good friend of the show. Diesel.
The Braves tour bus just broke down.
No.
Oh.
Clemson related. Grayson Mann says, I can confirm Clemson center Christian Reeves has entered the transfer portal. That will be another roster spot for Brad Brunell to fill. Obviously, he didn't average a lot of points this year, but just basically everybody that was left at Clemson is now gone from the team, right? So we'll talk a little college basketball with Rocco Miller next.
Tolos, stay safe. The weather outside just nasty here in the upstate of South Carolina. Find yourself some shelter if you can. And while you're doing that, listen to our guest. He's going to make you smarter. Rocco Miller of Bracketeer.org. Find him on Twitter or on X at RoccoMiller8. He joins the show here for the second time. Rocco, appreciate you as always. Jon Scheyer, 37. Todd Golden, 39. Kelvin Sampson, 69 years old. And Bruce Pearl is 65. To what do you attribute the rapid ascension of young coaches in college basketball? We're seeing a lot of new blood making deep runs in this tournament. How and why is it that young coaches are getting so good so fast?
Well, I mean, I think everybody's got their unique path, right? I don't think Jon Scheyer and Todd Golden have a ton in common with their path besides their age. And I think with Todd, so, I live out here in the Bay Area and followed his career since he was an assistant coach, and remember when he played for St. Mary's, always had a young, dynamic, analytical mind when it came to how games should be coached in game, as we saw in that Texas Tech rally, fouling JT Toppin intentionally with 2:50 to go down by 6, knowing that they were in the 1-on-1, and of course catching the break of him missing. That happened twice during that sequence, a very overlooked part of the comeback. And in fact, I'll be writing an article about it here soon. But so there's just like with Todd Golden, he is a guy that tries to find winning players, great attitudes, people willing to learn, high IQ basketball, a lot of underdogs. And that's how this Florida team was built, starting with his first year 3 years ago. And then, of course, increasing the talent in year 2 last year, getting a lot of those guys back here in year 3 and finding a key piece like an Elijah Martin in the portal that fit in perfectly, that already had relationships with Will Richard and Walter Clayton Jr., building a really strong front court at Florida with the 4, the big weapons. And we saw the development, for example, of Tommy Howe this year, a kid that was probably overlooked in a projected bench warmer coming into the year, and now actually rising on the NBA draft boards as we approach April, and the Florida Gators still playing ball, versus a Jon Scheyer, who, of course, had an incredible Duke career. And once he got out of the NBA, he began his coaching quest, and obviously a sharp mind for other reasons, but has all the advantages of being Duke's head coach, and was already leading the recruiting charge in those last few years under Coach K. And so was able to carry that forward, both a great combination of X's and O's and getting high level talent at the Duke level. Obviously, you look at the Cooper Flags and the Con Kneppels of the world with Tyrese Proctor and Malik. Those guys are just naturally gifted players that Duke has special access to, being the brand that they are, and then plugging in a Sion James in the portal, getting that 1 or 2 pieces to help put it all together. It's just they came from 2 very different backgrounds to get where they are, but that just goes to show you in college basketball, there's a lot of different paths to success.
Rocco, when we talk about chalk, when we talk about this March Madness tournament, I led the show today. By the way, this is Cole. Always appreciate you hopping on with Diesel and I. But we led the show with the not so March Madness, right? Or March not so madness. There hasn't been a ton of madness. However, I said, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, I said when you talk about America and a lot of the casual basketball fans, they may be the crowd that wants the upsets, that wants the Cinderellas. But for someone like me who has enjoyed the games that we've gotten, I'm okay if there's never another Cinderella in the history of the tournament. Now, I know that's what makes the tournament great at times. Where do you stand on, this year not having as many Cinderellas, and for the first time since 2008, and only the second time ever, we have all 1 seeds in the Final Four?
Yeah, well, it's an interesting time because obviously we're going through a period where NIL is the name of the game, and it has been for a while, but it's gotten to a more mature point, I think, in college basketball, to where there's a clear hierarchy between the SEC, Big Ten, Big 12, and everybody else. Duke's part of that top end hierarchy, as you can imagine, being a top 2 or 3 team, no matter what metric you look at. But outside of them, the ACC was relatively one of the worst ACCs of all time, and the Big East did squeeze 5 teams into the tournament, but outside of St. John's, had nobody higher than an 8 seed. So we really just had 3 super leagues this year, and a lot of that's a consolidation of teams moving up over the years. Houston not too long ago was in the American Conference. Now they're not only in the Big 12, but they're dominating the Big 12, and they're in the Final Four. So some of these programs that might have been looked at as Cinderella stories in the past have just evolved and grown to a point where they're now part of these big coast-to-coast leagues. We'll see what happens in the future with Gonzaga and San Diego State, for example, going to be part of that new Pac-12, which should be an amazing basketball league out here in the West. But, yeah, to your point, like my preference in general is I love all 31 leagues. I love all levels of the sport. But if there's teams that are just clearly superior to the others, my philosophy is I'm all about the journey. I love the journey of the off season, of building the rosters, understanding how things are going to come together, which programs have continuity like Houston and Auburn, where they were able to keep a lot of those guys from last year, and who wants to be there. I think that can be a separator in itself, and you saw that with those 2 examples this season. And then as the season begins and plays out and we actually get to March and into March Madness, I just love the entire journey. And so whatever the journey gives us, I'm willing to accept. After doing this for long enough, you end up kind of having friends in all leagues and that almost, somebody at every program. So you get to a point like where I'm sitting where I'm just genuinely happy for the guys who stuck with it and succeeded. You mentioned earlier that both Bruce Pearl and Coach Sampson at Houston are in their 60s, late 60s, in Coach Sampson's example. And those 2 guys have really stuck to what their identity is throughout all the decades of coaching, even through some really tough lows when they both got in trouble with the NCAA, to recent times and actually being able to kind of figure things out and making their identity work and not really wavering too much on their coaching philosophies and running the program the way they wanted to run it. And now they're, this is their second Final Four each in the last 5 years, I believe. So obviously there's some fruits to that labor. And there's tons of stories like this across the country, and eventually some of those coaches will break through as well. And that's why I love the journey so much, because you just don't know exactly how it's going to play out. And this year our story is, well, these 4 teams were just quite clearly, obviously Florida had a couple of close scares there, but quite clearly the 4 best teams. And so it's not too often we get that in the Final Four, so let's go ahead and enjoy this while we have it.
Talking to Rocco Miller of Bracketeer.org. In the last hour of the show, Rocco, Cole and I both had the exact same power ranking of the 4 teams remaining in. Both of us had Duke as the best team left in. I would say Houston and Florida are very similar, sort of a 2A, 2B situation, and Auburn sitting there in the proverbial last spot here. Auburn's free throw shooting ability really concerns me, especially if they get into a tight game. But if you look at that Michigan State game, if they get into a situation where they get up, it's really hard for teams to come back on them. Would you agree with that statement? Duke 1, Houston and Florida 2A, 2B, and Auburn at 4?
Yeah, that's a tough question because, Auburn's so overwhelmingly good, and they run a lot of good sets, as you saw yesterday against Michigan State. They had the best overall regular season with 17 wins against teams that were in the tournament. So it's really hard for me to put them fourth. But then again, you see the gear that Florida can get into. You know what Houston can do to teams in terms of pounding them. And I do agree that Duke's the clear number 1. I mean, Duke doesn't have a guy shorter than 6'5". And, even against a Houston team that's extremely physical and will be a test, they're going to have a bunch of nice size advantages because Duke is just so freakishly long and really hard to match up against, and plus extremely talented on top of that. So, yeah, I think I'd go Duke 1, and then I would almost put the other 3 pretty much on the same tier, if that's possible. I don't know if that's a cop-out or not, but that's where I'm at.
Hey, Rocco, I wanted to bring up a comment from one of our Tolos, one of our listeners, in hour number 1 of the show. We were talking about Johni Broome and Cooper Flagg. And obviously, all season long, most of the conversation has been about those 2. But when you look at Walter Clayton Jr., he's a senior guard on this Florida basketball team. I guess this is a 2-part question. The first part being his impact on their success, and then the second part of that question, if you look at Walter Clayton Jr., with him being a senior, as someone that could find a spot somewhere on an NBA roster.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think so. And I think he he would be the third person in my list that you just listed. I think the numbers that Broome and Flagg put up are ridiculous. I think Broome has 23 double-doubles this year, and I'm sure some of those ones he didn't get double-doubles, he was probably on the bench because the lead was too big to keep him in. And so he's been as dominant as you could ever ask for. Same with Flagg, and Flagg only being, 17, barely 18 now, years old is crazy. So you have some freakishly impressive regular seasons from those two. But I think when you watch Florida play, and I covered the regional here in the West, so I was with them the last 4 or 5 days, and you saw what happens in that Texas Tech game, and we saw it in other examples like the UConn game. If Florida's in a pinch, Walter Clayton's getting the ball, and he's the one that is calling the shots on the offense. It's almost like a player coach on the floor in some ways because he is so trusted and he is so, ball dominant, and he commands double teams from the defense. He hits off balance shots that are really, really ridiculous. They were, I think, a little bit unfairly giving him some Steph Curry comparisons just because they were in the same arena at the Warriors arena this weekend. But there are some things he can do that not a lot of people on the planet can do in terms of making threes from, way downtown, or just like those off balance examples. You've seen him hit those in the tournament when they really need a basket. And it's not just in the tournament. It's been all season long in a brutal SEC. Clayton comes through time and time again. He makes great passes if he gets doubled. We saw that when Tommy Howe hit 2 in a row. Those were both feeds from double teams on Clayton. So he deserves all the credit in the world because in some of these games, Florida really, really needed a basket, and it wasn't looking good. We've seen 2 of them in the tournament. It was all because Walter Clayton's leadership.
Rocco Miller, Bracketeer.org, joining us here on Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson, breaking out of the NCAA tournament here for one quick second. Can you put into perspective this acquisition of Trayson Eaglestaff by the South Carolina Gamecocks from the University of North Dakota? He had 18 points a game in the Summit. He's taken that to the SEC. I know South Carolina's got Lamont Paris has got a big job ahead of him, replacing a lot of outgoing transfers. How confident are you that Trayson's going to be able to replicate that in the SEC?
Well, he's 6'6", 195, and he gets in ridiculous, streaky, hot streaks. And I'm not sure if you saw the Summit tournament game against South Dakota State when he had 51, which is just unbelievable to do in a 40-minute game. But there were some shots he made where you would have to be unconsciously hot, what they call in the zone in basketball, to be able to make, because I think there was like 3 different clips that I found where he couldn't even see the basket, and he was turning around from like 18, 20 feet, nothing but net, with a hand in his face. So there's some freakishly offensive things he can do that separate him. And I think any doubt that you might have had that he could score at the SEC level showed up in that Alabama game that they got to host when they gave Alabama a scare up there. And I think he put up 40 in that game. So I think offensively he's going to be fine. My biggest concern there is his defense. North Dakota had probably one of the worst defenses anywhere in the country. In fact, that league has one of the worst defensive leagues. It's a great place to put up numbers. So you always kind of concern yourself with that when you get a player from the Summit League. But Lamont Paris is an amazing defensive coach, always has been. We saw how good their defense was 2 years ago when they made a run at the SEC regular season title. And so getting him acclimated early in the summer, working out with the guys, learning some of those defensive principles will hopefully go a long way for him being able to stay on the court. But if he can't get defensive principles down, it's going to be really hard for him to get enough minutes to put up those gaudy numbers in the SEC. It's already going to be hard enough because this is it's a big jump. I mean, the Summit League's probably the 23rd or 24th best league. So jumping all the way up to the best league, it's not for everybody. But I think this kid is so ridiculously talented. It's definitely worth the opportunity to give him the scholarship. And you just want, if you're South Carolina or anybody in the SEC, you want like 9 to 11 guys that have a real chance to be a difference maker. He certainly checks that box. And if it doesn't work out, you better get a couple of other guys in that same, 2, 3, 4 position that might, run away with the spot. And that's kind of how Alabama's done it. That's how Auburn's done it. That's how Florida's done it. And if South Carolina really wants to compete at that level, they need to bring in enough dudes that can that build that kind of depth.
Rocco, my last question for you. When you look into your crystal ball to Saturday, Florida, Auburn, and then Houston versus Duke should be two really good basketball games. The Gators favored by 2.5, Duke favored by 5.5. What do you think happens on Saturday? And then when you make your national championship look ahead prediction for Monday, I mean, I know you're not you can't predict the future, but if you had to do your best at predicting who's playing on Monday night, who would you have in the national championship?
Yeah, it's tough. I think we're going to have some great games. I'm not going to write off either of the teams I'll pick to lose, but I will say, we saw Florida-Auburn once. It was an amazing game down at Auburn where Florida took it to them. They were the first team to win down there in the jungle all year long. I think only them and Alabama did it. So I do think Auburn definitely is going to be hungry to get some revenge. Florida has kind of that house money mentality. They've escaped twice. The UConn game was dicey for a while. And, of course, Texas Tech, they were in a much deeper hole, and they got out of that again. So it's going to be a fascinating dynamic, but I'm going to go with Auburn there. And I just think, like I said, the Duke matchup advantages with the size, I think eventually wins out over Houston, although that could just be an unbelievably hard-fought game. Really looking forward to both. So I'll go with Duke there. And then I once again think Duke's probably going to have the talent to just outdo Auburn. Auburn, of course, had a little bit of some missteps in the beginning of March, starting with 3 losses. I think 3 of their first 5 games of the month were losses, but got better here in the tournament, struggled a tiny bit with Creighton, and, of course, we're down 9 against Michigan a few nights ago. But they look stronger again, but I just think this Duke team, it's really hard to pick against them. The talent level, and these guys have starters that will be in the NBA for over 10 years. It's not just a couple guys with a chance for some coffee in the NBA. These are going to be like Cooper Flagg's an NBA All-Star. There's other guys who should have long careers. And my rule of thumb kind of every year in the tournament is who has the most pros usually is going to win, and that's clearly Duke.
Rocco, we had a listener bring up this question here, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it. A listener thought that this Duke team would probably beat the Charlotte Hornets. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I have to strongly disagree with that. Because you look at anybody that's in the NBA right now, how hard it is to get into the NBA, period. It kind of starts to answer the question before you even get too far down in the weeds. And I would say that for any college versus pro sport. Now, they could make it interesting maybe one night, but then it's just like these are men against boys, and it's and extremely talented men, and it's just not happening.
Rocco, great stuff as always, man. We appreciate your time, and we will see who comes out on top on Saturday. Thanks as always.
Yeah, my pleasure, fellas. Enjoy the game.
Cole, you better count your blessings today on March 31st, 2025, that you do not live in the state of Idaho. Because this would adversely affect you.
Okay.
I feel it in my bones.
Okay.
This would adversely affect you. The governor of Idaho has just signed a bill into law that criminalizes the public exposure of male genitalia, which makes truck nuts illegal in the state of Idaho. But you have owned lots of trucks, and you're in the market to buy a new vehicle, and everybody knows that in the state of South Carolina, you have one of two choices. You either have to do the Carolina squat, or you got to put truck nuts on it. So sorry, man. If you ever decide to move there,
I can't tell you the last time I've seen truck nuts on a truck.
Could you imagine what it's like to be in a state capitol building debating the merits of truck nuts?
Yeah.
This is audio.
I mean, they still exist.
Yeah.
I never
see them.
No,
I see them. It's truck nuts, Carolina squat. Thankfully, that's going away because it's illegal here in South Carolina now. And then it's the giant flag hanging off the trailer hitch of your truck.
Yeah.
Like, we got to stop that too. That should be illegal too because it impedes somebody's ability to possibly see around you. Here's audio of the Idaho legislature debating.
I've also heard an argument about this bill saying, well, it could penalize people who put certain things on their trailer hitches. I don't think we need to go into that, but there's certain things people put on their trucks that look like part of a male anatomy.
They call them truck nuts. They're gross, they're offensive, and kids on the road see them. So why wouldn't the police get a call and say, that offends me, pull it off the truck? Because now this bill will allow it.
And you know what the bad part about that is? The hard-earned people of that state and town are probably paying for them to be in there talking about it.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
I mean, is this not freedom of speech? Is this not freedom of expression?
It's crazy.
I genuinely don't know what it is you're trying to express by hanging those clackers off the back of your truck. But no more in the state of Idaho. And I would imagine, Cole, that this is going to be a law that sweeps the nation. You're just going to get rid of them, right?
Just another quick piece of news. You thought it was done for the Braves. However, a little bit more breaking news. The Braves have placed Reynaldo Lopez on the IL. And I have just tweeted out, cancel the season. Starting pitcher on the IL, hopefully not long. It was a right shoulder inflammation. He was recalled. Bryce Elder sent up. Bryce Elder, not a bad pitcher, but now you've got your leadoff guy. I mean, this is just getting comical. You've
seen Major League, right?
Yeah.
Remember the very beginning when they're going through the roster? They're in the bar. And they're like, they read Anderson.
Yeah.
Stevens. Who to bleep are these guys?
Yeah.
That's the roster for the Atlanta Braves right now.
Yeah, it's bad. It's what John Calipari say. I thought we had that when he was when he got introduced at Arkansas. You remember that audio? That was great. What team?
Now, I met with the team. There is no team.
There is no team. That's the best audio.
I'm telling you, Brad Brownell needs to call John Calipari and say, how did you do it?
Yeah, really.
How did you do it? We're not in the same conference. John. I need your help. I need your help because I got no team.
Just under 10 minutes from deciding who the Gamecocks will play. How about that, Diesel? Friday night at 7 o'clock, the Gamecocks will play either Texas or TCU in the Final Four. And South Carolina, again, has already played Texas 3 times. Texas has, a lot of history in women's college basketball, won a national championship. TCU has not. This is the furthest that TCU's ever made it in the women's college basketball tournament. So a little bit of newness to the Horned Frogs, but that one about 13 minutes from
I love an in-state matchup here, TCU, Texas.
Yeah, for the right to go to the Final Four. How about that? Not bad at all. So we'll see who the Gamecocks play I would like to see Dawn Staley beat Vic Schaefer one more time. How about that?
One more.
Stick
Tolos,
it to him.
thank you so much for making today's show fantastic.
Absolutely.
Overreaction Monday. Couldn't ask for better. But we're going to ask you to do it again on Thursday when we do our Tolo Takeover.